The curtain rises in a chamber dripping with gold, where a young nobleman and a maid share a moment thick with unspoken tension. The afternoon sun illuminated a porcelain cup containing a daring experiment, a mint blend swirled with a velvety touch of cream. Anticipation hung heavy in the air as the maid watched him. The nobleman, with hair like winter snow and eyes like frozen oceans, paused. He swirled the liquid casually, his voice devoid of warmth as he asked who dared to brew this. A brown-haired maid stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly, confessing that the creation was hers. But in a heartbeat, the atmosphere shattered literally. The cup slipped from his fingers, crashing to the floor. Porcelain exploded into shards. Fear rippled through the room, yet the nobleman remained in statue of ice, utterly indifferent to the destruction he had caused. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the butler. The verdict was swift and cruel. He despised the tea, and the maid was to be cast out immediately. Watching from the sidelines, a blonde young woman felt a chill run down her spine at the man's terrifying lack of empathy. Just 1 week prior, the atmosphere had been entirely different. At Count Emmanuel's estate, this same blonde girl had carried a tray to her father with a smile. The Count had taken a sip and beamed, declaring it the finest brew to ever touch his lips, praising his daughter's divine gift. His words had warmed her heart, painting her cheeks with a soft, rosy flush of happiness. But there was a secret behind her talent. She wasn't just a noble daughter, she was a tea fanatic reincarnated from another world. Black tea, oolong, herbal blends. Discovering the endless varieties in this new dimension sent her heart racing with pure adrenaline. Smiling, she reflected on her journey. Two things anchored her to this reality: the infinite world of tea, and the memory of a boy she had known in her childhood. That boy held a special place in her destiny. He was the very first person she had ever served tea to. She recalled their innocent pact to open a tea shop together. But reality crashed back in as her father spoke. "Anna, have you considered working as a maid at the Imperial Palace?" The suggestion hit her like a physical blow. She stood frozen in shock. He laid out the harsh truth. Now that she was of age, the inheritance laws were clear. The mansion would go to her older sister. Anna would be left with nothing. Anna, our spirited protagonist, felt her soul wither. Her father droned on about the palace salary and retirement benefits, but her dreams were crumbling. Suddenly, a spark of determination ignited. She slammed her hand onto the table, the sound echoing through the room. Her father jumped, startled by her intensity, but Anna looked up, a fire burning in her eyes and a smile on her lips. She would do it. If she could earn a royal wage serving the prince, she could save up enough gold to finally open her dream tea shop in the capital. Fate moved quickly. Her father secured her a position as a tea server within the palace walls, granting her access to the empire's finest leaves. To Anna, it felt like the golden ticket she had been waiting for. But that optimism existed before she met the monster. She had no idea the prince was a tyrant who discarded human beings as easily as used tea leaves. In the grand halls, the servants whispered like frightened mice. Did the prince shatter another cup? Was another maid exiled today? Anna absorbed every terrified rumor, fighting to keep the rising tide of anxiety from drowning her. The other maids cast pitying glances her way, as if marking her as the next sacrifice. Anna slipped into a room, closed the door, and slid down the wall in despair. Panic clawed at her throat. Was she safe here? Was her dream worth this nightmare? Should she flee while she still could? Then, a light bulb moment. She rushed to the desk and opened a book that pulsed with a faint magical aura. Ink manifested on the page, the enchanted object asking, "How was your day?" Grabbing a quill, she poured her heart out, typing that she had clocked out early and asking if he was still working. This was no ordinary book. It was a magical communication diary, linking her thoughts instantly to a distant friend. It was their lifeline. If the stars aligned, they could chat in real time across the distance. She scribbled furiously, confessing to her mysterious friend that this new job was far more brutal than she had anticipated. The ink swirled as her friend replied, asking for details. She explained she was in charge of tea for some very high-ranking VIPs. Then, she dropped the bombshell. Her boss was a sadistic tyrant who fired people for entertainment. Suddenly, a voice from outside made her jump out of her skin. Flustered, she shoved the magical book into hiding and called out, "Just a moment." She cracked the door open, heart pounding. A timid maid stood there, bowing deeply and apologizing for the intrusion. The news was urgent. The head maid had summoned Anna to the tea storage room immediately. Anna asked if it couldn't wait, but the girl shook her head. It was mandatory. Anna's stomach churned. This felt like a bad omen. Inside, the head maid delivered the verdict: Anna's probation ended today. The command followed swiftly. Anna was to prepare His Highness's tea personally, alongside Libby, another maid. Panic flared. Anna tried to decline the suicide mission, but the head maid sweetened the deal. The hazard pay was astronomical. Anna did the math instantly. That sum of gold could support a family for nearly 2 months. It was a fortune. Greed battled fear, and greed won. She grasped the woman's hands, eyes shining with determination. I will do my absolute best. She turned to the brown-haired girl, Libby, with a confident smile. Libby nodded, stating she would prep the table, leaving the most critical task, the tea leaves, in Anna's hands. It was the moment of truth. The very first time Anna would present her tea to the Imperial Prince. Desperate to leave a lasting impression, she poured over the finest leaves. Finally, her trembling hand settled on a blend that screamed perfection. This specific blend had conquered the palate of the nobles at the last grand ball. Surely, even His Highness would bow to its flavor. Beside her, Libby watched with a knot in her stomach, even as forced giggles escaped her lips during the preparation. As they navigated the opulent palace corridors, Libby whispered words of comfort. She claimed the prince was in high spirits, praying their heads would remain attached to their shoulders, and our heroine clung to that hope, believing her brew would be the key to his heart. But reality shattered that illusion. In an instant, Libby was dragged away before she could even blink. The prince, dripping with arrogance, demanded to know if there was anything worthy of his taste. Terrified, Anna stammered that she would brew a fresh cup immediately. With the fresh blend steaming in her hands, she approached him. Anna's entire body quaked like a leaf in a storm. He raised the cup. One sip. Silence. She recoiled, expecting a death sentence, until he asked if she was the rumored new arrival. Anna bowed, confirming her role as his exclusive tea server. The air in the room grew heavy and silent. Then, a miracle. He declared the flavor exquisite. Anna stood frozen, her mind unable to process the praise. He confessed it had been an eternity since a drop this divine touched his lips. A wave of honor washed over her. To receive such words from the Tyrant Prince himself, twilight descended upon the imperial grounds. Inside his study, the prince's quill scratched against parchment. The heavy doors creaked open. The head butler stepped in with grave news. The maid, Libby, was still rotting in the underground dungeon. The old man warned that keeping her imprisoned might sow seeds of rebellion among the other servants. But the prince didn't even flinch. His voice was ice cold as he dismissed the concern entirely. Ignoring the plea for mercy, he issued a single command: ensure Anna serves his tea more frequently starting tomorrow. Deep in the abyss of the dungeons, a lone torch flickered. Libby huddled in the darkness, isolated and terrified within her stone cage. The air down here was thick with despair, a suffocating gloom that promised no escape. Suddenly, a shadow detached itself from the wall. A blond man materialized, whispering that her sacrifice would be remembered. Serving the prince was a deadly burden, after all. His eyes held no pity. He murmured about keeping secrets, reached out a gloved hand, and whispered a final, chilling goodbye. Meanwhile, oblivious to the tragedy, the daily menu featured Anna's signature brew, swirling with a rich, creamy fragrance. Anna paused before the towering mahogany doors, her reflection distorted in the armor of the silent guard. She wore a mask of calm, but beneath her uniform, her heart hammered against her ribs. Inside, a high-ranking noble droned on about a crisis, but the prince's eyes were glazed over. The moment they spotted Anna, the suffocating political talk ceased. With a subtle tilt of his head, the prince beckoned her. Anna pushed the silver cart forward, the wheels gliding silently over the plush carpet. She remained as still as a statue while the noble begged the prince to review the documents. But the royal gaze held zero interest in affairs of state. Exhausted by the incessant nagging, the prince ran a hand through his hair, sighing deeply. Then, his demeanor shifted. He locked eyes with Anna, watching her every movement as she poured the amber liquid. She offered a perfect, practiced smile, carefully adding a drop of golden honey to balance the bitterness. But nothing escaped the prince's sharp eyes. He caught the slight tremor in her hands as she approached the guests. Panic flickered in her eyes. The table was a battlefield of scattered parchments. There was nowhere to set the tray. Unexpectedly, the prince offered a reassuring glance. Anna quickly apologized, bowing low, and asked if she should retreat. The noble scoffed at the interruption, but the prince turned on him, voice dropping an octave, and ordered the aristocrat to get out. The official stood confused, unable to process the command. The prince narrowed his eyes, his gaze turning glacial. Scrambling to collect his dignity and his papers, the noble fled. Alone at last, Anna offered the cup, holding her breath. But the cup stopped inches from his lips. He demanded an explanation of its contents first. Fear spiked in her veins, but defying royalty was not an option. Our protagonist began her recital, first harvest from the southern high plains, plucked at dawn, using only the tenderest silver-tipped leaves. The prince leaned forward, his presence overwhelming. "Are you certain?" he pressed, his voice sharp as a blade. Anna felt the walls closing in. This wasn't tea time. It was an interrogation. She hoped it was over, but the prince was just getting started. His gaze hardened, piercing right through her soul as he prepared his next query. Externally, Anna maintained a smile as bright as the sun, but inside, she was screaming. Later that night, alone in her room, the mask crumbled, leaving her trembling in the dark. However, Anna reflected that facing the prince hadn't been the nightmare she expected, at least. Not for her. Yet, grief weighed heavy on her heart. The other maids were mercilessly discarded. One was her dear friend, a girl with dreams just like hers. The prince had found that poor girl's tea too bitter and banished her instantly. Just yesterday, she had been smiling, inviting Anna to her family's bakery. But the royal palate is unforgiving. Anna watched in horror as the knights dragged her weeping friend away from the palace halls. Fear gripped her heart. Should she resign before she was next? Suddenly, mana flared. The ancient tome fell open, revealing a glowing script. "How was your day?" It was her mysterious correspondent. His words carried a warmth that melted her anxiety. Hoping she wasn't pushing herself to the brink. He sensed her distress, asking if someone was tormenting her. Reading those gentle words, tears finally spilled from Anna's eyes. She poured her heart out onto the pages, recounting the brutal dismissals. They were fired before they could even learn the basics. Her friend was appalled by such incompetence. He immediately offered her an escape route, come work for him instead. Yet, she gently refused. If she became his employee, this precious, equal connection between them would be lost forever. She thanked him profoundly. It was no small offer. He was the heir to a massive merchant empire, a man of immense influence. Suddenly, a heavy knock shattered the peace of her chambers. Who would dare visit at this ungodly hour? Anna opened the door, only to freeze before the imposing figure of the head maid. The woman's gaze was sharp as a blade. She delivered the sentence: starting tomorrow, the prince's tea service would be doubled. Anna blinked, her mind struggling to process this sudden change. The head maid explained the new regime. The prince demanded snacks between every meal, and the tea pairings must be flawless. Terror washed over her. Double the shifts meant double the exposure to the tyrant. One mistake, and she would share her friend's fate. Our poor protagonist felt her soul literally escaping through her mouth. However, the head maid dropped a bombshell. For this hazardous duty, Anna's salary would also be doubled. Gold coins danced in her imagination, blinded by potential riches. Anna accepted her doom with a bright smile. The very next day, amidst the steam of brewing tea, Anna cursed her past self. What kind of madness had possessed her to say yes? Her greed was truly embarrassing. And the prince, far from being a silent statue, he bombarded her with endless interrogations. The rumors were wrong. She had foolishly believed he was the silent type. By afternoon, Anna collapsed in her room, drained of all life force. Just then, a golden radiance illuminated the gloom. The book was calling. She reached for the artifact. Her friend's script appeared, asking a simple, caring question. "Have you eaten yet?" Eaten. She had been so drowned in royal demands she hadn't even taken a sip of water. Sensing her exhaustion, her confidant grew serious. Why suffer in such a toxic environment? Was there a reason she endured this? The magical script formed a new offer. If she wouldn't work for him, he would personally recommend her to any other noble house. Warmth bloomed in Anna's chest. Even from afar, his concern was a balm to her weary soul. She wrote back honestly, the danger pay was astronomical. She just needed to endure a little longer to reach her goal. But what requires such a fortune? Her friend inquired. Anna's eyes softened, recalling a memory from long ago. She was saving to open a tea shop in the capital, hoping to reunite with a childhood friend. Suddenly, the image of the prince's piercing cold eyes flashed through her mind. She clenched her fists. She would conquer the prince's palate, and one day, she hoped her mysterious pen pal would visit her shop, too. Her dream was meticulous. The ground floor would be a haven for commoners to enjoy warm blends and pastries. But the second floor, that would be a sanctuary reserved for the elite, those with the most refined tongues. Her friend was puzzled by the distinction. Anna explained it was for very important people. The young man seemed confused. The term VIP clearly didn't exist in the vocabulary of this world. Before she could explain, the book jerked from her grip. Pages began to flip violently, whipping up a magical whirlwind inside her quarters. Chaos erupted. Anna shielded her face, unable to comprehend the sudden magical storm surrounding her. A blinding golden flash exploded from the artifact. Then, just as quickly, the light died, and the book crashed to the floor. Silence returned, leaving her room in shambles. Her heart hammered against her ribs. That power was terrifying. Trembling, she retrieved the tome. Resting inside was not a message, but a simple bookmark. She squinted at the text scrawled upon it. The words chilled her to the bone. Warning, never reveal to anyone that you are from another world. Who sent this warning, and how did they know? But mysteries must wait for today's menu. Features the prince's requested honey tea. The elixir possessed divine efficacy, a shield against the creeping chill of illness. But who was the phantom benefactor behind this gift? A delicate bookmark lay within, shimmering with an enchantment of its own. Anna's mind raced back to the enigmatic merchant who sold her the tome. A shiver ran down her spine. She had been far too careless with the unknown. She scrubbed the table, erasing the chaos left by the fluttering pages. It became clear now. The bookseller was no ordinary mortal. He had bestowed the grimoire upon her for free, a gift of fate. A knowing, mysterious smile had played on his lips as he prophesied she would cherish it. That very night, the prophecy came true. The book awakened, glowing with a blinding golden aura as the pages turned themselves. But when the sun rose and she sought answers, the bookstore had vanished into thin air. In its place stood a whimsical ice cream parlor, mocking her reality. Anna stood frozen, her mind reeling in shock. Clutching a strawberry cone, she interrogated the staff, but they swore the shop had stood there since the beginning of time. Was the mysterious merchant a traveler between worlds? Just like her, fear had initially gripped her heart, but now she could not survive without this artifact, her only bridge to her secret friend. Suddenly, magic sparked in the air. Golden light danced around her fingertips. The surge of mana roused Anna from her slumber instantly. Heart pounding, she grasped the glowing book. New words materialized upon the parchment. "May I entrust you with a secret?" Her heart soared. He had returned. "Yes," she whispered to the page. The mystery writer confessed it concerns a dear friend of his. "This friend harbors a burning, secret love for someone," he wrote, but his courage fails him. He knows not how to confess. Anna gasped, delighted by the scandalous romance she vowed to be his tactician in this war of hearts. He must besiege her with presents, she advised boldly. Ask her questions, let the conversation flow like a river, centered on her desires. Surely, she will fall for him in time, duty called, and Anna pushed her cart into the lion's den, the prince's chambers. There sat the ruler, buried under a mountain of documents, his energy drained. The prince lifted his gaze, even ravaged by exhaustion. His beauty was lethal, a breathtaking masterpiece. The butler's warning echoed in her mind. The beast has not slept. His temper hangs by a thread. Anna trembled internally. What demons had plagued the crown prince through the dark night? His voice was a rasp of weary authority. "My tea." Anna moved with lightning grace, presenting the cup to soothe his turbulent soul. "I prepared a potent blend, Your Highness," she murmured, "to combat the fatigue of your sleepless vigil." The prince allowed the liquid solace to touch his lips. He exhaled a long, heavy sigh, the weight of the kingdom momentarily lifting. She turned to flee, but his command stopped her cold. "Stay." His eyes softened. "Spare a moment for me." Shock rippled through her. The icy prince, amidst his suffering, sought to discuss the tea. The tea specialist found her voice. These leaves were harvested from the mist-covered valleys of the southeast, she recited. The flavor is unique, he noted. A touch of cocoa and cinnamon, she revealed, magic to warm the spirit. Delightful, he whispered, a rare warmth in his tone, but the throne demands my return. Anna escaped into this corridor, exhaling the breath she had held for an eternity. The interrogation was over. She had survived the encounter, but peace was short-lived. A voice rang out. Anna. It was Constance. Waving with the brightness of the morning sun, she had come to discuss the royal banquet menu. The woman's relief was palpable. Anna had not been executed or fired. Mistress Constance, the empress of the kitchens. In this treacherous palace, she was the one sanctuary Anna could trust with her life. Memories flooded back the early days when Anna was nothing but a clumsy, trembling mess over the stove. Venomous whispers from the other maids had pierced her heart like needles. She had felt so alone, until she arrived. Silence. Constance had stormed in like a thunderclap, shattering the gossip. Where are my ingredients? The head chef had found Anna quietly weeping. A warm hand landed on her shoulder, a touch that startled the tears away. Constance's voice was a balm to the soul. There, child, all is well. The prince is not a monster, she soothed. He will not rage over a trifle. She pressed a gift into Anna's hands. Hidden within the handkerchief lay golden, buttery cookies, a taste of comfort. Constance smoothed Anna's blonde locks with maternal affection. I was merely teasing before. You are doing a magnificent job. She leaned in, whispering a secret. Even my heart hammers against my ribs when I face him. With a radiant smile, she offered a slice of pie. Then allow me, Anna declared, her spirit restored, to brew the perfect tea for this perfect pie. Mrs. Constance declared that no brew in the empire could rival Anna's golden touch. Meanwhile, Anna prepared to indulge in the culinary masterpiece before her. It was a feast for the eyes indeed. The crust was fragile as spun glass, holding back a tidal wave of rich, generous filling. One bite sent shivers of delight through her soul. With a gentle smile, Mrs. Constance insisted she devour as much as her heart desired. Our heroine was left speechless, utterly captivated by the explosion of flavors dancing on her tongue. But reality came crashing back when the lady casually asked if her daily duties were complete. Panic flashed in Anna's eyes as she bolted upright, the headmaid's orders suddenly echoing in her mind. Mrs. Constance chuckled warmly, trying to soothe her nerves, but in her flustered state. Disaster struck. Anna's hand clipped a teacup. Shame burned her cheeks crimson. She stammered apologies, desperate to scrub away the evidence of her clumsiness. Yet, the older woman gently halted her, urging her to return to her post. All she asked in return was the promise of another cup of Anna's divine tea. With a hasty bow and a heart full of gratitude for the treat, Anna turned and fled the room. Mrs. Constance watched her go, vowing that her next creation would be even more heavenly. Racing through the grand corridors, Anna mentally kicked herself for the blunder. Still, her stomach grumbled, longing for just one more bite of that pastry. Back in the room, the older woman moved with an eerie, graceful calm to restore order. In mere moments, perfection was restored. The porcelain, the silver, and even the flowers seemed to shimmer with a supernatural glow. Mrs. Constance prepared a parcel of leftovers for the young maid, but then her sharp eyes caught something extraordinary. The lilies. They had bloomed with an impossible vibrancy. Was this the magic of the moment after all? The day's special menu was no ordinary fare. Her signature pie featured sun-ripened fruits glazed in golden honey, each one crafted like a work of art. Between you and me, she possessed over 1,000 secret recipes in her arsenal, but for now, the sun rose on a brand new day at the Imperial Palace. The aroma of rare herbs and exotic flowers filled the air as they dried from the rafters. Anna stretched her weary limbs, satisfied with the organized chaos of her sanctuary. A sense of accomplishment washed over her. The tea leaves were perfectly sorted. This efficiency bought her the most precious treasure of all time to read. Her mind drifted back to the past, to the days at Baron Emanuel's estate. Bam! A hand slammed against the wood, shattering the silence as a woman berated poor Anna. It was her older sister, scoffing at Anna's ignorance of the Empire's latest literary sensation. Snap back to the present. Anna's fingers brushed against that very book alone from her past life. She blew the dust off the cover, revealing the ridiculously long title, I contract married the wealthiest terminally ill duke, but the emperor won't stop obsessing over me. Honestly, it felt like a cruel joke compared to her mundane life as a palace servant. The pages told a tale of a blindingly radiant heroine who crossed paths with the ruler of the world. Naturally, the emperor fell into a deep, inescapable madness of love. Fueled by this dark obsession, he awakened dormant abilities. He crushed his enemies like insects beneath his boot. He ascended the throne as a ruthless tyrant. Years passed before destiny brought them together once more. The young emperor stood before her, cursed with crimson marks, frozen in eternal youth. Terrified, the girl recoiled, screaming for him to vanish. She failed to recognize the monster he had become. Suddenly, knock, knock, the sound dragged Anna out of the story. A child with hair like spun gold and eyes to match peeked inside. He announced that His Highness had finished his midday meal. With an innocent smile, he delivered the command, prepare the royal tea service at once. Anna frantically shoved the romance novel under a cloth. Turning to the boy, Arthur, she asked about the prince's menu. Asparagus with delicate fish fillets, Arthur recited, followed by a prime filet mignon steak, he added, and a rich chocolate pudding to finish him. Moments later, Anna presented a glass of crystalline iced tea garnished with fresh mint. The prince stared at the floating ice cubes, utterly bewildered. What sort of concoction is this? He demanded. Anna stepped forward, her heart pounding. The head butler gasped at her audacity, but the prince... His eyes narrowed with intrigue as she began her defense. She opened her mouth to speak the name, then froze. The original reference for this drink didn't exist in this fantasy world. She needed a lie, and fast. It is called Morrow Mint Tea, Your Highness. She improvised smoothly. The prince leaned in, his interest piqued by the exotic title. She spun a tale of rare, special mint leaves to justify the name. In truth, it was a refreshing fusion of mint and crisp apple slices. Raw mint can be overpowering, she explained like a master brewer, so I utilized toasted leaves to harmonize the flavors. The prince found her logic surprisingly brilliant. Emboldened, Anna began to ramble about other brewing methods, but the prince heard none of the technical details. All he could see was the radiant passion burning in her eyes. He was captivated not by the tea, but by her. The nobles were absolutely captivated by her brilliance, but duty calls, and Anna bows gracefully to bid the prince farewell. His gaze lingers on her retreating figure as she hums a soft melody. Suddenly, his voice cuts through the air. He tugs at the ribbon of her bow, stopping her in her tracks. With eyes trembling in hidden anxiety, he begins to speak. Anna blinks in sheer confusion. The prince is asking for her opinion on the empire's tax policies here now. Our protagonist is lost. With the intensity of a strict instructor, the prince demands she list 5 distinct pros and cons of the current fiscal system. Anna freezes solid. Her mind goes completely blank. Then comes the ultimate philosophical trap. Would she save passengers in a carriage or pedestrians on a bridge? What kind of twisted test is this? She desperately misses their tea discussions. At least his passion for desserts was genuine and easy to understand. The man devours cookies and fine chocolates like a beast, yet retains a godlike physique. Truly, the heavens are unfair. Back in the sanctuary of the tea room, Anna collapses on the floor. She shakes her head, trying to banish the image of his blinding beauty from her mind. She returns to her novel to escape reality. In the pages, the fictional prince has finally decided to propose, a marriage proposal sealed in crimson parchment and stamped with imperial gold. But the heroine is one step ahead to escape the tyrant's clutches. She seeks out the sickly duke and proposes a contract marriage. Little did she know, the duke had loved her from the shadows for years. He accepts her proposal without a second thought. Anna turns the page eagerly. The plot is thickening deliciously. But who is the true male lead of this story? Meanwhile, deep in the palace, the real prince summons his loyal butler, Derek. Derek trembles. Did he botch the royal accounts? No. The prince declares the calculations are flawless. Wait a moment. Is the prince reading the exact same romance novel as Anna? The cold nobleman hesitates. He needs to ask a question that burns in his chest. He flips through the pages nervously. Then he drops the bomb. Derek, tell me, how does one win at romance? Derek turns to stone. His brain refuses to process the shock. The scene shifts to the aroma of Anna's marrow mint tea, the perfect cleanse for a heavy palate. The prince coughs awkwardly. A friend of mine needs advice. Yes, a friend who wants to succeed in love. Is there a subtle way to learn a lady's tastes? Dereric wonders who on earth would have the audacity to ask the crown prince for dating tips. My friend thought spending time together would bridge the gap. The prince sighs, but the distance between them only grows. The butler's eyes widen. It clicks. The friend is the prince himself. Suddenly, the prince's erratic behavior lately makes perfect sense. The butler remembers sprinting through the halls with mountains of paperwork. The endless stacks of books, the summons that interrupted his sleep. Dereric feared he was on the brink of being fired. The prince stares intently at his servant. Well, what is your verdict? The butler smiles wisely. Your Majesty's friend should weaponize his best assets. The strategic war council begins. The next day, Anna enters with a tea tray. Bam! She is nearly blinded by a holy aura of radiance coming from the prince. Rule number 1 of Dereric's strategy, maximize visual impact. He is glowing like the sun, but he remembers rule number 2, maintain a mysterious silence. He rises from his throne. The sparkle is too strong. Anna has to shield her eyes from His Majesty's blinding charisma. Today's blend features the tenderest harvest leaves, crowned with delicate blooms from the central plains. Not a word leaves his lips. The silence is heavy as Anna courteously pours the amber liquid. Anna steals a glance. She can't deny it, he's breathtaking. Sapphire eyes, hair like spun gold. An exotic beauty that doesn't seem to belong to this mortal world. She breaks the tension with expertise. The high mist locks in the floral essence, she explains softly. It perfectly balances the palace sweets. The prince takes a calculated, elegant sip. But Anna is sweating. Why has he stopped the interrogation? This sudden, cool silence is terrifying. The cup clicks against the saucer. Anna bows and retreats instantly, fleeing before the questions can start. As the door closes, his eyes snap open. Dereric whispers from the shadows. Did the strategy work, Your Highness? Outside. Anna catches her breath, wondering what storm is brewing behind those beautiful eyes. With a face set in stone, Anna steps into the lion's den. But before she can even offer the tea tray, a sight arrests her very soul. For what earthly reason had the prince chosen the revealing garbs of the southern isles for this time of day? Little did she know, this was Dereric's third stratagem to seduce her with a calculated display of royal physique. Anna fights to keep her composure, her heart hammering against her ribs, trembling. She announces the day's brew, a tart infusion of cranberries. Seeing her distress, the prince leans in with concern, but Anna's eyes betray her, locked onto his perfectly sculpted abdominals, overwhelmed by the sight. The young maiden abandons the tea service and flees the royal chambers in a panic, leaving the nobleman completely baffled by her sudden escape. Back in the safety of her quarters, Anna is still reeling. She cannot believe she bolted like a frightened rabbit. What manner of torture was that display? Was he trying to force her resignation through sheer embarrassment? Insecurity gnaws at her heart. She fears this is punishment for gaining her position through her father's influence. Terror grips her as she wonders, is she the next head to roll? Hands shaking like leaves in a storm. She opens her secret drawer. She reaches for her magical tome, desperate to pen her thoughts. But her nerves betray her. The inkpot slips, staining the pristine paper in a dark pool of regret. She hastily scrawls an apology to her mysterious friend, begging for guidance. But the page remains silent. Hours drift by until a golden radiance stirs her from slumber. Her mysterious friend has finally responded, apologizing for the delay and sensing her distress. He expresses joy at her trust, vowing to aid her in any way he can. A thought crosses her mind. Did he stay awake just for her? Gratitude washes over her. His words are a balm to her soul. Dawn brings new courage. Anna banishes her fear of the prince, resolving to amass a fortune by the year's end. She approaches the head butler, inquiring about his well-being. Dereric confesses the truth after a grueling, sleepless night. The prince has finally succumbed to slumber. Realizing this is a recurring pattern, Anna decides to quietly leave the tray in the royal chambers. The burden of the crown has been heavy, stealing the prince's rest. Dereric advises a silent delivery. Anna moves like a ghost, tiptoeing through a room drowning in scattered documents. As she sets the tea on the central table, a soft mumble escapes the sleeping prince's lips. He sleeps with his head awkwardly on his arm, a posture destined to cause agony upon waking. Perhaps she can help. She bends down, closing the distance between them. With a gentle touch, she tries to adjust his head. But then, the unthinkable happens. He whispers her name. Anna freezes, her face burning crimson. The day's special is Highland tea, brewed from the softest leaves. A delicate flavor meant to dance perfectly with sweet confections. Safe in her quarters, Anna spirals. Has the prince lost his royal senses? The memory haunts her. Why would he call for her in his dreams? Confusion swirls like a storm in her mind. Is the end near? A knock at the door sends her into despair, surely. It is the letter of termination. The door creaks open to reveal Arthur. Breathless, Anna asks if her time is up. The boy is bewildered. Anna presses on. Why was she not summoned for tea service today? Arthur laughs off her fears. When the prince dismisses someone, he does it to their face. Her presence means she is safe. Relief washes over her as the boy mentions the prince is currently dining. She glances at the window. The sun has not yet set. Why this premature meal? She recalls his exhaustion. Perhaps he seeks an early slumber to recover his strength. But Arthur drops a bombshell. The Empress, the prince's formidable mother, has arrived at the palace. Anna is struck dumb by the sudden news. And there is more. The Empress has demanded to taste Anna's tea personally. The royal kitchen is in absolute chaos. The Empress asks for her back in her room. Anna frantically sorts through herbs, mind racing to find the perfect blend. According to her sister's records, the Empress favors the tart notes of hibiscus. Anna analyzes the meaning. She snaps the book shut. But is that information outdated? Taste can change like the wind. She pauses, eyes gleaming with inspiration. If she tweaks the recipe just so, she might just brew a miracle. The skilled artisan whispers the secret ingredients: honey and wild blueberries. When fused with the tart elegance of hibiscus, the alchemy creates a miracle caffeine-free. It is the perfect elixir for the twilight hours. Anna's delicate fingers sort the dried leaves. Her thoughts drift to the prince, knowing how desperately he craves a night of true rest. The Empress hums a soft, mysterious melody, the sound echoing as the maid clears the porcelain. The tension at the table is palpable. The prince sits stiffly beside Derek, while the Empress radiates pure amusement at her sudden intrusion. Her smile is bright, perhaps too bright. The prince cuts through the facade, bluntly revealing that her presence is suffocating the room. He demands to know her true motive, but with a graceful wave of her hand, the noblewoman dismisses his concern as if it were a mere fly. A simple problem requires a simple solution, another place setting. She simply had to taste the legendary tea brewed by this young girl. Were the rumors merely whispers, or truth to understand? We must look back. Months ago, at a lavish palace banquet, amidst the luxury, the prince suddenly summons Derek. His gaze locks onto a distant figure. Derek confirms the target, Lady Anna, the youngest daughter of Count Emmanuel, a woman whose mastery of tea had already captivated the high nobility. The prince is struck by her radiant smile and gentle warmth. Derek leans in, offering more refreshments. Not here, the prince declares. His command is absolute. Bring her to the palace. Hire her immediately. Returning to the present, the butler beams with pride. His master's instincts were correct. The prince simmers with irritation at his mother's antics. He tries to intervene, but the Empress has already locked her sights on Anna. The doors open. Our protagonist glides into the dining hall, maneuvering her elegant cart with grace. The prince freezes, his eyes fixed solely on her. Anna falters under the intensity, but the Empress remains as unmovable as a mountain. Anna begins the ritual of the hibiscus tea. The spread is breathtaking, exquisite china matching the perfection of the desserts. Royalty waits in silence, watching the master at work. The Empress observes everything with a hawk's eye. She senses a shift in the air. Something has changed within her cold son. In the depth of his eyes, she sees only one reflection: Anna. Though undeniably handsome, the prince bears the weight of exhaustion. Anna's heart aches with a desire to soothe his weary soul. She adjusts the steeping time, a subtle act of care. The prince watches her every move, mesmerized. The Empress dissects the scene. The prince's intense stare burns into Anna, flushing her cheeks with embarrassment. Her heart races. Why does a single minute feel like an eternity? The hourglass drops its final grain of sand. Perfection achieved. Anna pours the crimson elixir. The Empress questions the blend. Anna unveils her secret technique: hibiscus petals infused with the essence of fresh fruits. Praise from the Empress. Our protagonist glows, honored to have her talents recognized by the highest power in the land. The verdict is in. The Empress is thoroughly captivated. She sighs with nostalgia. It has been ages since she tasted such excellence. It reminds her of her father. A tale of young love. During the golden summers, he courted her mother with this very tea, brewed from fresh garden leaves. Anna freezes. That story. Why does it sound so hauntingly familiar? The prince leans in, his curiosity piqued by this unknown history. The Empress reveals the truth. His grandfather spent his youth in the rugged western region. Confusion clouds the prince's face. But didn't they meet after he took the throne? The Empress smirks. Is that the version he told you? He likely buried the truth out of shame. Shame from his time as a political hostage. The prince's mind reels. This implies a second marriage. The imperial lineage is a tangled web of secrets. As the prince processes the Duchess's history, Anna's mind explodes with realization. In the original novel, the heroine's first love was the hostage emperor. Fate tore them apart, and she was destined to marry the duke years later. But destiny is cruel. She remarried her childhood love, the emperor. The truth hits Anna like a lightning bolt. Is it possible? Is the prince's mother actually her? The Empress standing before her is none other than the main character of the original novel. Anna is shook to her core. Did the author lose their mind writing this timeline? The special menu. The hibiscus tea mixed with fruits. It wasn't a coincidence. That tea was the Empress's soul food all along. The Empress lets out a weary sigh, her boredom palpable. She tells her son that the tale is far too long and complex, a saga that would require an entire book to fully recount. A secret smile plays on Anna's lips. She knew the truth all too well. An entire book had indeed been written about that very narrative. A shiver runs down our protagonist's spine. It wasn't just a story, it was a bestseller that had sold over 10 million copies. The pieces of the puzzle finally click into place. The hero of the novel wasn't the Duke, but the ruthless tyrant emperor himself. Raising her cup, the Empress fixes her sharp gaze on the maid and demands her name. Heart pounding in her chest, Anna introduces herself with a graceful bow while pouring the tea. The Empress takes a sip, and her eyes widen. She praises the brew, calling it absolutely fantastic. At last, she understood why Prince Adrian had sung such high praises of this maid. But before she can finish her thought, her son abruptly cuts her off. It was a rare sight indeed. The stoic prince looked thoroughly embarrassed, shrinking under the teasing gaze of his own mother. Desperate to hide his flushed face, Adrian asks his mother for a private audience. Anna seizes the opportunity, slipping away to her quarters to dive back into her secret book. As she flips through the pages, reality begins to mirror fiction. Everything was exactly as the Empress had described. In the story's climax, the female protagonist is bound by fate to marry the tyrant emperor once again. Anna slams the book shut, her mind reeling. Who in their right mind would dare to chronicle the scandalous love affairs of the imperial family? She checks the author's biography for a clue, but there is no name, no face, only a cryptic drawing of a strawberry juice. Perhaps her mysterious pen pal would know the truth. After all, he was the heir to a massive trading guild with eyes and ears everywhere. She slides open her drawer, and there it is. The magical book glows with a divine golden light, pulsating with ancient energy. Dipping her elegant golden quill into the ink, she writes to him, asking if he knew of this infamous literary work. Curiosity burns within her as she waits. The text manifests on the page. The mysterious friend asks if she's referring to the tragic tale of the Duke with the serious illness. She scribbles back, noting that despite the strange title, the book was the talk of the entire capital. But the reply is disappointing. Her correspondent reveals that he knows absolutely nothing about it. Anna presses on, asking who could possibly have written a masterpiece of that magnitude. Surely, he had a suspect in mind. Taking a deep breath, Anna decides to retreat. She wouldn't burden her friend any further. He clearly had enough troubles of his own to worry about. He seemed like a gentle soul, always willing to lend a hand. The sun rises on a new day, and Anna faces a critical decision which tea would be perfect for this morning. The young woman rummages through her shelves until she finds a hidden gem. It was a special tea she thought had been exhausted long ago. Though its flavor was subtle, it was a high-quality leaf. It was far too precious to simply go to waste. Her eyes land on a small basket on her table. Inspiration strikes. Anna decides to toast some golden rice grains and blend them with the green tea leaves. It was a stroke of genius. She would create a genmaisa, a golden rice green tea. The young woman takes a sip, and a wave of nostalgia crashes over her. The flavor is hauntingly familiar. It transports her to another life, a universe where tea came in simple paper bags. For a moment, our protagonist is lost in the memories of her past life. She adored the drink, but doubt creeps in. Would a refined prince appreciate such a rustic, warm, earthy flavor? Anna steels her resolve. She would stand by her creation, confident that she had chosen something truly interesting for the prince. Besides, the stakes had been raised. The head maid had visited her room yesterday with news that changed everything. The tea breaks would continue, but the pressure was on. The Empress demanded 3 new, unique tea blends every single week. The cunning Empress had fallen for Anna's brewing skills. Anna's mind raced. This could be her golden ticket to the Imperial Court. If she played her cards right, her future was set. Meanwhile, the butler serves the steaming cup to Adrian, explaining the toasted rice infusion. The nobleman takes a slow sip. Adrian seems to melt into the flavor, calmly enjoying the teas prepared by Anna's own hands. Suddenly, Derek's voice breaks the silence, interrupting his reverie. With a hesitant tone, the aide mentions he has been pondering His Highness's secret crush. The words hit Adrian like a physical blow. He jumps, splashing ink all over the magical book, unfazed. The young butler suggests that the nobleman should present the young woman with a magnificent gift. Adrian feels a knot of anxiety in his stomach, but Derek insists there is no way to fail if the gift is something the girl desires with all her heart. The prince nods thoughtfully. He assumes the butler must be talking about rare tea leaves. Derek shakes his head. For Anna, tea was labor, not leisure. He confesses that he had done his research with the head maid. Adrian leans in, his curiosity piqued. What was the key to her heart? The truth was simple. The thing Anna loved most was money. Mountains of gold coins. Derek delivers this news with a massive, triumphant grin. Back in her quarters, a knock echoes on Anna's door. The head maid stands there, eyeing her with suspicion. She explains that His Highness sent a special bonus in amount so large it was scandalous for a mere maid. The woman hands over the heavy bag of coins, and that wasn't all. The prince had granted Anna generous vacation time, leaving her free to choose when to leave. At this rate, Anna realized with a thrill that she could retire far sooner than her wildest dreams allowed. As the head maid walked away, she couldn't help but wonder what magical ingredients Anna was brewing in those blends. Suddenly, Arthur sprinted past the scolding head maid, ignoring the strict palace rules against running in the corridors. He burst into Anna's quarters, gasping for breath and calling her name with frantic urgency. The blonde boy stammered out the news. The Empress herself had crashed the prince's lunch without a moment's warning. But the stakes were even higher this time. The Empress hadn't come alone. She brought her husband, the formidable Prince Consort Owen. Adrian's noble father had insisted on testing Anna's tea personally. A cold sweat of worry began to prick at Anna's skin. What was the Empress plotting, and what must Prince Adrian be thinking of this ambush? Brewing tea in his private chambers felt dangerously intimate. She checked the liquid in the teapot, praying to the gods that the quantity would satisfy these royal titans. As the heavy door swung open before her, Anna was blinded by a radiant aura, wondering where such golden light originated. Seated at the table were Prince Adrian, his dashing father Owen in a regal black and gold cloak, and the Empress, looking divine in pristine white. The moment Anna entered, 3 pairs of royal eyes locked onto her. The Empress's gaze was sharp and immediate. Owen, seated between them, looked like a mature, refined reflection of Adrian. Anna marveled inwardly. Truly, beauty breeds beauty in this imperial bloodline. Trembling slightly under their blinding presence, Anna approached the nobles. She felt small before such overwhelming elegance. Owen offered a smile that melted the tension, gently requesting a cup. She served a fragrant hibiscus blend paired with rich chocolate puddings. She arranged fresh red berries and golden honey on the side, allowing the flavors of the tea to be elevated to perfection. Prince Owen gazed at the liquid ruby in his cup, praising its magnificent color with genuine delight. The Empress signaled for Anna to leave the pot so they could serve themselves, mentioning she wanted her kin to taste this masterpiece as well. Adrian offered a shy smile, while the Empress struggled to recall the topic of their previous conversation. With a playful, almost boyish grin, Owen reminded her she was recounting the legendary saga of his own father's marriage. The prince's grandfather, consumed by jealousy, had stormed her wedding to the duke. The groom looked confused, for no one expected the emperor to crash the ceremony. The emperor reached for his blade, tension filling the air, but before the tyrant could strike, the bride, fearless and wild, dashed forward. With courage blazing in her eyes, she grabbed him by the shoulder and threw the emperor to the ground with shocking strength. Yet, that violent impact sparked a memory. The bride realized this man was the emperor her long-lost love from childhood. Later, while sharing plates of pie, Mrs. Constance asked Anna if she believed that romance novel was based on a true story. The woman looked at Anna with skepticism. Anna, knowing too much, begged her to keep the story a secret. Mrs. Constance laughed softly. She asked who she would even tell, when suddenly Arthur popped up like a ghost, nearly giving Anna a heart attack. The women bribed the curious boy with pie. As he was desperate to know what secrets they were whispering about, Anna teased him, saying it was top secret information. Arthur pouted, annoyed and determined to uncover the truth at all costs. Mrs. Constance watched the bickering, giggling softly, but a mysterious, knowing twinkle remained in her gaze. Meanwhile, in a vibrant sea of tulips far away, Prince Adrian asked Derek if he thought Anna liked flowers. The butler, desperately swatting away a swarm of bees, agreed. Adrian seemed lost in thought, dreaming of the perfect gift for her, fighting for his life against the insects. Derek asked the prince why he didn't simply confess his love to Anna. Derek was losing the battle against the bees, waving his arms in vain to drive the buzzing menace away. The nobleman sighed deeply. He couldn't just do that. What he truly desired was something far more profound. His mind drifted back to a sun-drenched memory. We see a young Adrian, back when his hair was as dark as midnight. He was sharing tea on a beautiful day. Anna had smiled radiantly at him, holding out her small hand in friendship. He clearly remembered her promise when she opened her tea shop. She would invite him. Years flew by. But Adrian guarded that promise like a treasure. At a palace banquet, he had finally spotted her. He had waited patiently for destiny to align, until coincidence reunited them at the ball. To him, Anna had blossomed into someone even more breathtaking than he remembered. Her delicate face was framed by golden hair and sparkling green eyes. The prince had blushed furiously just seeing her exist in the same room. But despite their deep history, and perhaps due to the cruel passage of time, Anna hadn't recognized him at all. Heartbroken but resolved, he accepted his role. He would wait for Anna to choose him of her own free will. Derek, finally defeated by the bees, politely argued that if he courted Anna, she would surely accept his feelings. Adrian explained the harsh truth. If a prince courts a commoner, it isn't romance, it is seen as an imperial command, and he refused to force her heart. Anna, as the youngest daughter of Count Emmanuel, was bound by the iron laws of hierarchy. She would be forced to accept him simply because he wore the crown. Derek listened to this prince's ramblings, thinking the noble ruler was weaving a web of unnecessary complications around his own heart. The butler suggested courting her in the shadows, but Adrian immediately shot down the notion with a sharp rebuke. It was a recipe for disaster. Adrian reminded him that while he was the prince of the kingdom, his title was a cage. He could not simply do as he pleased. If he courted Anna in secret, the world would whisper cruel rumors that she was merely a mistress, stripping her of her honor. The prince refused to tarnish her reputation. He desired to be her husband, but only through a path paved with absolute respect and propriety. Only by following the righteous path could they truly find their happily ever after. Derek realized the prince was hopelessly fallen, already painting visions of their wedding day in his mind's eye. The prince continued his plight, stressing the power imbalance. She was his employee, and he held the purse strings of her very livelihood. Adrian swore never to use his authority to coerce her heart, terrified that his status might force a false affection upon her. Derek finally understood. His master wanted to win her soul through nothing but pure, unadulterated honesty. However, time was wasting. It was time to face reality and have a serious conversation. The butler stepped forward with a cold truth at this snail's pace. Adrian wouldn't even manage to send out wedding invitations before he grew old. The prince faltered, confused by the sudden urgency, while Derek shot him a look of steely determination. The butler pressed on. If the prince rejected every strategy, perhaps it wasn't honor holding him back, but a lack of courage to pursue her. Adrian stammered a defense, claiming those underhanded methods were simply beneath his royal dignity. Derek, revealing the soul of a true romantic, asked if the prince remained silent. How would she ever know Adrian foolishly countered that Anna should come to him, like a butterfly to a flower? Derek fell silent, stunned by the naivety. Then he gently corrected his master, not even flowers simply sit and wait for the butterflies. They draw strength from the earth, bloom in vibrant colors, and release sweet scents to beckon the butterflies to them. The words struck a chord. Adrian fell into deep contemplation, his gaze drifting to a fragile butterfly resting upon a tulip. Derek urged him, be that flower. Release the fragrance that will make her turn her eyes to you. As if summoned by destiny itself, Adrian looked up to see Anna strolling through the garden with young Arthur. The boy pestered her about her chat with Mrs. Constance, but Anna playfully refused to spill her secrets. The lovely protagonist smiled, radiant as butterflies danced around her like a living halo. In that heartbeat, Adrian wished more than anything to be the tulip that could draw her into his embrace. But shadows lurked nearby. In a hidden chamber, a man with long blonde hair watched them, his plans unraveling before his eyes. A sinister smile curled his lips. Perhaps it was time to accelerate the tragedy and give fate a little push. Destiny shifted gears that day. It was the first time Anna would bring tea to the prince's private study, at Arthur's request. Anna entered, pushing the heavy cart. There sat the prince, immersed in his reading with kingly focus. Her eyes widened. He was reading the very same controversial book her sister had lent her. This was Derek's master plan, bridge the gap between their worlds with casual, intellectual conversation to ease the tension. Yet Adrian trembled internally, asking the butler if his presence made her uncomfortable. Derek reassured him, insisting that the book was the perfect key to unlock her voice and smooth the atmosphere. Armed with that advice, the prince pretended to read while Anna poured the aromatic tea. Their gazes collided. Curiosity sparkled in Anna's eyes as she drew closer to him. Suddenly, it clicked. Prince Adrian bore a striking resemblance to her childhood friend. The gaze was identical. Flustered by ghosts of the past, Anna apologized and scrambled to retreat. But fate can be clumsy. Her shoes snagged on the carpet, sending her tumbling backward. Lightning fast, the prince lunged. He caught her mid-fall, pulling her into a chest-to-chest embrace before she could hit the ground. Adrian, though burning with embarrassment at the intimacy, stammered to ask if she was hurt. Mercifully, she was safe. But a crimson blush painted her cheeks as she whispered her reply, her heart racing. Later, in the safety of the tea room, Anna organized the china, her mind spinning. Why did the prince's eyes haunt her so? She pondered the mystery for a moment, but decided to shake off the strange feeling. Her thoughts were interrupted by Maline, the maid who served the prince consort, appearing with a sudden question. Relief washed over her like a tidal wave. Prince Adrian had not dismissed her after all. Our protagonist's heart soared, finally finding a true ally within these cold palace walls. She passed the crimson-bound book to Maline, a tale that echoed with scandal. Anna recalled the plot vividly, a story where the Duke finally agreed to divorce his estranged wife. With the contract severed, the Duchess reclaimed her rings. The Duke retreated to his northern duchy, destined to live out his days in bitter solitude. And thus, the heroine was free to marry the Emperor, her one true love. Their passion culminated in a legendary wedding night that readers would never forget. Maline clutched the book, eyes sparkling with enchantment. She sighed dreamily, thrilled that the fictional woman had fought against fate to be with her soulmate. It seemed like a fairy tale that could only exist in ink and paper. The young maid then handed Anna a green volume, insisting our protagonist read it next. Looking around the cramped tea room, Anna felt a headache coming on. Flowers and jars of dried leaves overflowed from every corner. There was simply no space left. Her friend raised an eyebrow, asking if the storage cabinet was already bursting at the seams. Anna sighed, explaining that fresh shipments arrived daily, yet the high-quality old leaves were too precious to discard. Maline's eyes lit up with an idea. Why not send them to the Palace of Roses? Our protagonist hesitated, confused by the suggestion. Is that necessary? Surely the prince consort cannot drink that much tea alone? Maline looked at her in disbelief, as if Anna had been living under a rock. Reaching for a jar on the high shelf, the maid educated our oblivious protagonist. The old leaves aren't for drinking. They are dried for potpourri or ground into luxury facial masks. Furthermore, it was headline news across the empire. The prince consort had famously published a guide listing over 100 uses for leftover tea leaves. Anna bit her lip. She had been too busy surviving to read the daily newspapers. A plan was set. Malene would return at dawn to collect the surplus leaves and transport them to the Palace of Roses. As the afternoon sun bathed the room in gold, Anna focused on her duties. She began the meticulous task of inventory, reporting the remaining stock to the head maid. Suddenly, her gaze landed on a box adorned with exquisite golden filigree. What is this? She wondered. She had never seen such royal craftsmanship before. Lifting the heavy lid, she revealed several tins containing tea varieties of unspeakable elegance. Yet, there was no label, no maker's mark. Anna crushed a leaf between her fingers, and a divine aroma exploded into the air, far richer than anything in her collection. A mystery began to brew. Where in the world could these treasures have come from? Night fell over the servants' quarters. Collapsing onto her bed, our protagonist felt the weight of exhaustion, grateful to have survived another day without losing her position. But her mind betrayed her. The memory of the prince catching her, his strong hands on her arms, replayed on a loop. She shook her head violently, desperate to banish him from her thoughts. Stop it, Anna, she scolded herself. Suddenly, the room was bathed in light. Her magical book glowed with a golden aura. Her heart skipped a beat. Her mysterious pen pal wanted to talk. Excitedly, she asked what was on his mind, but his next words froze her blood. The text revealed a shocking confession. Her friend had fallen in love with his own subordinate. On the other side of the magical connection sat Prince Adrian. He was fishing for advice, subtly dropping hints to the very woman he desired. The irony was thick enough to cut with a knife. Our innocent protagonist was cheering for a romance, completely unaware she was the main character. The prince read her reply with a soft smile. She described him as caring and observant, a man who noticed the smallest details. Her praise warmed his cold heart. He wrote back immediately, admitting that her generous words had given him the courage he needed. They bid each other good night, ending the magical transmission. Anna lay back in the dark, a bittersweet feeling in her chest, happy that her friend had found someone special. The next morning brought a heavy atmosphere. Anna marched to the great hall, tea service in hand, to attend to the prince. Though she tried to focus on pouring the milk and arranging the fine cookies, her mind wandered. She regretted holding back her own feelings during the chat last night. Alongside the cookies, she placed a selection of artisan chocolates on the silver platter. Next came the beverages, chilled milk, and a rich hot chocolate topped with marshmallows. But Anna's eyes were dull. The lack of sleep was taking its toll. Doubts plagued her mind. Was it a mistake to boost her friend's confidence? Would he confess his love to that other girl today? As she poured more milk, jealousy pricked at her heart. Who is she? Anna wondered. To capture his heart, she must be a truly magnificent woman. Prince Adrian watched her closely. He noticed her trembling hands and the distant look in her eyes. She was completely elsewhere today. She looked upset. Or perhaps, was that a glimmer of jealousy? Lost in her internal storm, the young woman wondered about her pen pal. Did he have piercing blue eyes like the prince, or soft green eyes like her own? Prince Adrian stared at the steaming cup before him, but before he could lift a finger, Anna's hand shot out and snatched his cup. Driven by pure instinct and a desperate craving for comfort, she brought the cup to her lips. She knew that in moments of despair, only sugar could heal her soul. The prince's eyes went wide with shock. He watched in silence as his maid downed the entire cup of hot chocolate in one go. She drank with such reckless abandon that a ring of milk foam and chocolate formed a mustache above her lip. A moment of clarity hit her. Horror dawned on Anna's face as she realized her treasonous mistake. But the nobleman didn't scold her. Instead, a gentle smile played on his lips as he reached out to wipe her face. "Excuse me," he whispered, his touch lingering for a heartbeat too long. Explaining he had royal duties to attend to, he turned to leave, hiding his amusement. Leaving the room, he can't stop the smile tugging at his lips, hands flying up to cover his flushed face. Meanwhile, left behind in the chambers, Anna sinks to the floor, utterly defeated. She questions her own sanity. How in the world did she manage to drink every last drop of the prince's tea? Far away, deep within the prince's quarters, the palace maids were busy preparing his wardrobe. As one carefully smooths out an elegant white coat, and another maid dares to ask what Prince Adrian intends to wear for the upcoming spring ball, A sigh escapes one of the girls. She explains that the prince insists on the same design year after year, with the royal tailor only adjusting the measurements. Suddenly, another maid bursts in. She cries out, voicing her burning jealousy of the maid serving Owen, the prince consort. The room falls dead silent. The other girls exchange glances, unsure of how to respond to such an outburst. Every single year, this red-haired young woman tries to persuade Prince Adrian to change his style. To make matters worse, her father never stops boasting about the magnificent uniforms he creates for Prince Owen. Her father, Laurel, sews extravagant and refined masterpieces for Owen, further elevating the prince consort's noble and delicate beauty. Flames of determination ignite in her eyes. She vows that this year, she will finally convince Adrian to change his attire. She refuses to lose to the maids of the Palace of Roses. One girl asks what they could possibly gain from this. The redhead scoffs, asking if her friend missed the headlines about the Palace of Roses last week. The entire kingdom was buzzing about Prince Owen's seasonal outfit, hailing him as a classic beauty. In stark contrast to the dazzling prince consort, Adrian maintained a look that was far more practical and minimalist. The other maids try in vain to comfort their friend. After all, just the night before, Prince Adrian had once again selected a simple white uniform devoid of detail. Yet, the truth remains. He looked absolutely spectacular in the traditional garments from the southern region. The bold red-haired maid felt her soul crush. It seemed the prince was destined to stick with his plain white uniform forever. Desperate, one girl suggests sneaking into the Palace of Roses to borrow some of Prince Owen's uniforms. The redhead snaps back, telling her friend to use her head. Those uniforms are custom tailored. They would never fit Adrian. The two princes are polar opposites. While Owen is delicate like a rose, Adrian is simply, at that exact moment, Prince Adrian enters the room. He asks the girls to finish that sentence. What am I? His gaze sweeps over the frozen maids in silence. They gasp in surprise. Adrian gently asks them not to compare him to a delicate flower. The red-haired maid tries to salvage the situation, but out of sheer panic, she blurts out that he was born a flower from the start. Adrian looks visibly uncomfortable. He stands there in shock as she insists he has the potential to bloom even more magnificently. However, Adrian sees a unique opportunity. His mind drifts to his conversation with Derek in the garden. He declares that he is willing to change. He turns to the girl and asks, "What should I do?" The redhead begs him to wait, leaving her shaken friends behind. Moments later, the maids return, staggering under piles and piles of books. Adrian stares at the mountain of paper. "What is all this?" he asks. She reveals they are famous designs, containing elegant sketches for his potential new look. The top designers would drop everything instantly to attend to Prince Adrian. The nobleman gives the order. He tells the maid to select someone special and have the professional come to the palace for measurements immediately. Seizing the moment, she shows him a sample of moss green silk, imported directly from the western region of the kingdom. Totally smitten, Adrian freezes. The shade of green reminds him vividly of Anna's enchanting eyes. Without hesitation, he chooses that color. Meanwhile, in the prince consort's chambers, Owen is being fitted by Laurel, the father of Adrian's maid. The blonde man confides in Owen. His daughter, Jane, mentioned that Adrian is finally interested in choosing a new outfit. Owen lets out a discreet, knowing laugh. He thinks to himself that the day has finally arrived. The prince consort warns Laurel to stay sharp. A mysterious smile plays on Owen's lips, his face partially veiled by his cascading silver hair. His mind flashes back to a dark era, a time when he kept Laurel imprisoned in a cold dungeon. Shedding his usual persona, the prince displays a gaze cold enough to freeze blood. Laurel was blindfolded and shirtless, enduring brutal punishment from the guards. The man was under the influence of powerful magic. Owen commands a knight to open the cell door. The guard doesn't understand the whim, but he obeys without question. A light breeze carries fragments of magic toward the prisoner. With power shimmering from his hands, the prince consort removes the blindfold. Owen smiles down at him, an ethereal glow surrounding his figure. He kneels before the man in mock greeting, yet leaves the ropes tight. Finally, he extends an invitation. Come and see the Palace of Roses. Back in the present, at the grand ball, whispers erupt as Owen makes his entrance. Everyone is left spellbound by the prince consort's attire. Laurel stands faithfully at his side, a silent shadow of loyalty. From her high throne, The Empress observes the pair with a gaze that misses nothing. She offers a rare compliment, noting that the prince's elegance shines brighter thanks to Laurel's care. Laurel bows low, face flushing with pride, declaring it the greatest honor of his life. Meanwhile, Jane the maid tears through the capital. Her horse's hooves thunder against the cobblestones as she skids to a halt before a legendary tailoring atelier, desperate for a response. But a haggard attendant blocks her path with dark circles under his eyes. He sighs that they are closed and their schedule is fuller than a noble's belly. Jane is not giving up. She jams her boot into the closing door, voice steely. She comes by command of the royal palace, and she needs the designer this very afternoon. With a burst of strength, the young maid flings the heavy door wide open, nearly sending the exhausted man toppling over in shock. The color drains from his face. The palace here. The gravity of the situation finally hits him. He hurriedly ushers her into the showroom, a paradise of silk and velvet. He begs her to wait upon the plush sofa while he fetches the master. Deep in the sanctum, the legendary designer Mistress Petra is lost in a trance, her needle dancing across exquisite azure silk. The red-haired artisan snaps without looking up. Genius is at work and cannot be disturbed by mere mortals. The assistant stammers that the palace sent a personal envoy, but Petra scoffs. Mere measurements. They want her to play tailor like a commoner. She refuses. How can she craft a masterpiece without inspecting the muse in person? Her artistic integrity will not allow it. The man pleads, sweat beading on his brow. He insists that this summons is unlike any other. Wait. A maid came personally upon hearing the weight of the request. Mistress Petra shoots up from her chair, eyes widening with realization. She grabs armfuls of her finest textiles. If this is true, she will be the first artisan in history to receive a direct summons from the prince himself. Jane watches in awe as the designer emerges, clad in a chic green uniform that looks exactly like the sketches she admired in the fashion book. The young maid doesn't waver. She highlights every specific detail His Highness requested for the new design with professional precision. Petra reveals the gold embroidery already shimmering on the fabric. Perfection Prince Adrian will look absolutely devastating in this ensemble. No time to waste. The designer barks orders, commanding her workers to load every bolt of cloth and spool of thread into the carriage immediately. As she races toward the castle, a heated debate rages in the prince's study. What color best suits the crown's jewel? The nobles argue that regal purple would make his silver hair and crystalline eyes shine like starlight. Others insist on navy blue to frame his delicate features, while some claim pure white would make him look like a descended angel. It is a hopeless argument. The prince's beauty transcends mere color. He looks magnificent in absolutely everything. As twilight paints the sky, Anna prepares a sweet strawberry jam for tea time, but despite her daily routine, a strange nervousness makes her hands tremble. Clatter. The golden spoon slips from her grasp before she can react. Prince Adrian is there, leaning in close to ask if she is unharmed. Anna flinches, heart racing. She stammers a quick apology, grateful for his gentleness, but her pulse won't slow down. She watches him closely. Something has shifted. His aura is brighter, his steps lighter. Even his hair seems to shimmer with a new vitality. A thought strikes her. Is he in love? Could the mysterious pen pal from the diary have finally confessed their feelings? While she spirals into speculation, Adrian looks at her with a furrowed brow. He notices her distraction and wonders if she is unwell. He asks gently if she needs a moment to breathe. When she nods, he smiles and commands it. Anna is to take a full day off. Freedom. Our protagonist prepares for her well-deserved holiday as her fellow maids swarm her with recommendations for a nearby bistro. One maid whispers a secret. There is a place that serves only one dish, but it is a flavor that touches the soul. Balancing a tray of tea, Anna beams at them, promising to visit every single spot on their list. Can she really fit it all in? She dons a stunning green dress that brings out the emerald fire in her eyes. She is ready to conquer the city, but as she turns to leave, a soft light pulses from the corner. The magical book is calling to her. Should she bring it? Fate seems to whisper yes. She tucks the glowing tome into her bag and heads out to meet the day. The capital is alive. The sky is a painted canvas of azure, and the square bustles with happy citizens enjoying the beautiful weather. Checklist in hand, first stop the legendary omelet house. Next on the itinerary, the Roy Tea House. Luck is on her side. Upon arriving, she secures a lovely table for one right by the window, bathing in the sunlight. The dish arrives. It is a masterpiece of creamy, golden perfection, crafted from the freshest eggs in the realm. One bite, and she understands. Simple, yet divine. It is a flavor that warms the spirit and satisfies the soul. She must share this joy. She opens the book, quill scratching furiously, asking her mysterious friend if he's ever known such a taste. Belly full and heart light, Anna returns to the streets, checking her map for the next adventure. There it is, the Roy Tea House. It stands like a palace of leaves and porcelain, the largest establishment in the city. But as she steps inside, a wall of noise hits her. The place is packed to the rafters with barely room to breathe. Anna stood frozen in disbelief. This so-called tea house served only 3 varieties, hid their suppliers, and ignored flavor profiles entirely. At least the porcelain was aesthetically pleasing. Upon taking a sip, she realized the tragedy was complete. The flavor was shockingly weak, nothing like the rich blends she brewed herself. She immediately opened the magical book, scribbling a scathing review about the disappointment. Meanwhile, within the golden walls of the palace, a different maid poured tea for the prince. The servant explained that the cup contained a premium infusion of dehydrated fruits and rosemary, but the prince's eyes narrowed as he demanded the origin of the leaves. Trembling under his gaze, the girl hesitated before confessing that it was a tribute sent by Duke Rosewood. Prince Adrian's expression turned into a mask of ice. He stated coldly that he had no memory of ever accepting a tribute from Duke Ross. It was likely a concoction brewed by the Duke's eldest niece, a desperate attempt to curry favor with the royal family through a simple gift. Or perhaps a poison plot disguised as kindness. Dererick stepped forward to handle the threat, while a knight seized the maid, binding her wrists instantly. Far away from the palace tension, Anna wandered through the bustling market, her attention caught by a delicate handkerchief at a stall. The merchant smiled warmly, remarking that the fabric's shade was a flawless match for Anna's emerald eyes. Anna felt a blush rise to her cheeks as the woman insisted she take it, claiming destiny had chosen the color specifically for her gaze. Swayed by the sentiment, she purchased the item and asked for it to be gift-wrapped. Now, she had one final stop, the famous Hoist coffee. Rumors had spread among her friends that the staff at this establishment possessed faces carved by the gods themselves. Anna approached the cafe with high hopes. The bell chimed as she entered, revealing a young man with chestnut hair and warm brown eyes. Every other girl in the shop seemed completely under a spell, swooning over his apparent good looks. To Anna, however, the man looked like a common potato. Her standards had been ruined by seeing Prince Adrian's divine beauty every single day. She poured a cup of tea, only to find it tasted like dishwater. Seeking distraction, she opened the magical book to check for a reply, only to be startled by a bizarre response from her mysterious pen pal. He spoke of a terrifying monster she had sketched, but she was confused. Then it hit her she had tried to draw a fluffy omelet earlier. The mysterious friend continued his dramatic analysis, claiming the chaotic scribbles resembled a beast he had once seen depicted in the kingdom's ancient forbidden scrolls. Anna stifled a giggle, realizing he was analyzing her breakfast. She quickly wrote back, begging him not to mock her boredom-induced masterpieces. Suddenly, a bold thought bloomed in her heart. Would this invisible friend accept the handkerchief she had just bought? With hope fluttering in her chest, Anna asked if they could meet today. She desperately wanted to give him the gift in person. Her heart sank when his reply appeared. He reminded her that their anonymity was the very shield that allowed them to be so close. Was her friend so exhausted by the masks of high society that he could only find solace in the words of a faceless stranger? She feared shattering the fragile bond they shared, yet the desire to see him just once was overwhelming. The mysterious friend then asked for her current location, and the young woman replied that she was standing near the royal palace, in the grand square anchored by the central fountain. Ink began to appear on the page as her friend drew a map. Anna gasped. It was a perfect, detailed layout of her exact location. The writing instructed her to find a hidden door at the marked spot, and to search for a loose brick near the lock mechanism. The code was specific: press the brick lightly 3 times, pause for a heartbeat, and then press 2 more times to release the seal. What secrets lay behind such a concealed entrance? Moments later, Anna stood before the very passage described in the book. The instructions continued upon seeing the 5 lion heads. She must press the second one from the left 3 times. Wait, and press twice more. She realized she need not worry about security, as the panel was designed to lock automatically once closed. Anna hesitated, wondering if she should simply leave the gift and vanish. A part of her still ached for a face-to-face meeting. Making her choice, she entered the code on the lion heads, and a small, hidden compartment slid open within the door. With gentle hands, Anna placed the wrapped gift inside the dark space, and the mechanism snapped shut instantly. She stared at the closed panel for a long moment, testing the lion heads again. The lock held firm. It was truly impenetrable. It seemed strange that a mere trading company would possess such high-level secrecy in the city center. Perhaps they were more powerful than she knew. Maybe that burden of power was why her friend was so tired of people. But she smiled. Not seeing each other did not mean their bond wasn't real. Anna walked away with a light step, wondering what he was doing right now. Back at the palace, Derek stared at the prince in confusion. The prince simply replied that he was conversing with a friend. The butler looked at his master, wondering if the stress had finally cracked his mind. Was His Highness now inventing imaginary companions within a diary? Derek offered awkward encouragement, terrified that the noble prince had gone mad. The prince, however, ignored the concern, smiling at the secret he held in his hands. Their conversation is brutally shattered. A thunderous crash echoes through the Grand Palace halls. Adrian and Derek sprint through the corridors in a panic. The royal butler prays to the gods it isn't those two causing trouble again. But deep down, the prince knows, it is definitely their doing. Meanwhile, in the bustling capital city, Anna tries to enjoy a peaceful stroll under the golden sun. But suddenly, a mischievous gust of wind snatches her hat away. Panic flares in her eyes. She spins around, desperate not to lose her precious accessory. The delicate hat dances on the breeze before settling gently onto the cobblestones. Anna rushes over, scooping it up with care. She gently pats away the city dust, sighing in relief. It was brand new, and her heart would break if it were ruined. But as she stands, realization dawns. She knows this place. Before her looms a large, ominous door. The nameplate glimmers with a strange familiarity. It is the very shop where Destiny first handed her that magical diary. Suddenly, without a single touch, the heavy doors creak open, inviting her into the shadows. Our protagonist steps across the threshold. A smooth, familiar voice echoes from the dim light. "We meet again, Anna. It is Noah, the enigmatic shopkeeper." He glides toward her, 2 steaming mugs of tea in hand. Remembering the prince's shifting moods, Anna confesses that her work life has been intense lately. Yet, as the words leave her lips, she realizes the truth. She is handling the pressure far better than she ever imagined. She beams at Noah, revealing that the diary has become her lifeline. The blonde-haired man smiles warmly, pleased that his creation is serving its purpose. Anna leans in, her voice full of wonder. She admits she thought it was ordinary at first, but then she discovered its true power, a magical link that allows her to exchange messages. The girl excitedly opens up to him. She reveals her secret heart. She has been sharing her deepest soul with a mysterious friend who holds a matching book. Through ink and paper, their connection has grown crystal clear. But suddenly, Noah's expression shifts. He confesses a shocking truth. He never enchanted the book with communication magic. The color drains from Anna's face. The revelation strikes her like a physical blow. Noah continues, his voice grave. "You are the only person to receive such a book in recent times." Anna freezes, silence choking her throat. Her mind races with terrifying possibilities. Her mysterious friend, her secret crush. Was he just an illusion conjured by Noah's magic all along? She listens in stunned disbelief. The young man explains it isn't a book of communication. It is an artifact of pure luck. Anna's world trembles. She imagines every heartfelt conversation dissolving into a lie. Noah chuckles softly, breaking the tension. He explains that the artifact's luck manifests differently for everyone. For Anna, Destiny chose to give her a voice. A connection. Seeing her distress, Noah gently hands her a handkerchief. His kindness strikes a chord deep within her. It feels so familiar, just like her moments with the prince. Why does her heart suddenly overlay the prince's image onto this shopkeeper? Noah continues his tale, his eyes looking into the distant past. He admits he cannot recall the last time a transaction like hers occurred. He drops a bombshell that defies logic. The last time I sold a book like this was 150 years ago. Anna gasps, her eyes going wide. She stammers, asking his true age. Noah merely gives a mysterious chuckle, guarding his secrets well. He shifts the topic, offering to show her new artifacts. Anna watches him, realizing he has been an enigma from the very start. Her mind drifts back to the past, to a time when her sister sneered at her, asking how a clumsy fool like Anna ever secured a palace job. Even the family cockatiel seemed to mock her, squawking random phrases as if sensing her anxiety. The truth was painful. Anna was at her breaking point, tormented by that bird day in and day out. But on that fateful day, the capital was alive with celebration, flags danced in the wind, and the sun bathed the streets in gold. Citizens strolled with joy in their hearts. Anna had gazed into a crystal ball, mesmerized. She called out to her sister, entranced by its beauty. But her sister only scoffed, scanning the area impatiently for something actually useful. Nana's hand had hovered over a strange goblet. Then, she touched an elegant green vase. But fate had other plans. A sign caught her eye, pulling her away from the mundane. She stepped into the shop, a realm of shadows and wonders. It was a true cabinet of curiosities, and there, resting on a table, one book called out to her soul. The friendly shopkeeper had welcomed her. Anna, innocent and unaware, complimented the exquisite cover design. The young man had frozen in place. His eyes locked onto her as she asked about the tome. He approached with guarded curiosity. Noah asked if the book pleased her. Anna, confused, didn't grasp the weight of his question. He picked up the artifact, his voice turning serious. "This is a diary of luck," he explained, and then, the unthinkable, he offered it to her for free. Anna was taken aback. She insisted on paying, her honor demanding it, but Noah refused, adamant that she accepted as a gift from fate. With a dazzling smile that could stop time, he promised their paths would cross again very soon. Back in the present, Anna is lost in memory. Suddenly, her sister barges in, shattering the mood. She complains loudly about searching everywhere for her. The older sister glares at the item in Anna's hands. "Buying trash again?" she sneers. "What is that strange book?" Anna clutches it tight. "It has a beautiful ship on the cover," she whispers. Her sister rolls her eyes, dragging her away, unaware that Anna holds destiny itself in her hands. Noah's gaze pierces through her, his expression unfathomable and intense. Anna bows, thanking him for his benevolence, while her sister hurries away, face flushed with embarrassment at having ignored the shop's mysterious master. With a casual, elegant flick of his hand, Noah bids farewell to the retreating figure of Anna. She promises to return soon, her voice full of sincerity. But then, a realization strikes her. She never actually told him her name. He waves, a silent wish for their paths to cross again, lingering in the air. The scene shifts back to the present, where Noah gestures toward the artifacts lining the shelves. Anna's heart races. Her only instinct is to flee this strange place immediately. That is, until something catches her eye. A clay teapot sits on the shelf. It has been an eternity since she saw such a nostalgic relic from her old world. Noah notices her interest and offers a demonstration. He pours hot tea over the ceramic figure. And suddenly, the little bird erupts with a brilliant white radiance. They both watch in awe as the ceramic bird awakens, fluttering with life. Anna lets out a delighted laugh, demanding to know the secret behind this miracle. He admits calmly that he dabbles in spellcraft. Her eyes widen in shock. Could this shopkeeper actually be a high-ranking mage? Was it safe for him to reveal such secrets to a stranger? Hesitant. Our protagonist asks the burning question: where did you learn to wield such magic? He counters with a question of his own, his voice dropping an octave. Where do you think I learned it? Noah snaps his fingers. Instantly, a golden aura, warm and majestic, flares to life around his body. Before her eyes, broken fragments of wood lift into the air, dancing in a magical suspension. He invites her to sit, as the pieces assemble themselves into a perfect chair right before her eyes. As she takes her seat, he explains his reasoning. He assumed a girl like her would be fascinated, especially since magic is a lost art in this realm. Anna whispers the question that changes everything. Are you from another planet? Noah nods, confirming the impossible, and she asks if he should be so open with the truth. His gaze softens as he looks at her. Because I trust you completely. A wave of gratitude washes over Anna, but she wonders what she could have possibly done to earn such faith. That is when he drops the bombshell. She is not so different from him. Flustered, Anna tries to deny it, claiming she is no sorceress. But Noah simply smiles, using his telekinesis to pour fresh tea into her cup without lifting a finger. He assures the girl that this shop is her sanctuary. Gathering her courage, our protagonist asks how he discovered her secret origin. He settles into his chair, the aura of an ancient sage surrounding him. He explains that, at his age, seeing through the veil of reality is mere child's play. Anna leans in, her curiosity piqued. How does he know so much about Earth? She asks if the shop's name, Noah's Ark, is a reference to the biblical legend. The young man's eyes grow distant. He explains that, centuries ago, he had a precious friend from Earth. The shop was named in her honor. Excitement bubbles up in Anna. She wants to meet this fellow traveler, but Noah's expression dims. He reveals that, tragically, his friend has long since departed from this world. Even as he delivers the heartbreaking news, Noah maintains a serene smile, masking his inner sorrow. Our protagonist feels a chill at his unnatural calmness. To bridge the gap, he begins to recount the tale of how their destinies intertwined long ago. She had lived a full, vibrant life, and before passing away peacefully many years ago. The pieces of the puzzle click into place for Anna, especially since he just revealed his true age. Noah is over 150 years old. Noah reminisces, his voice fond. When his friend learned his name, she insisted on christening the shop Noah's Ark, and the enchanted diary, he adds, was entirely her brilliant invention. In those golden days, they created purely for the joy of it. The magic they infused into the book was accidental genius and a concept never seen before. He confesses to Anna that only 2 copies were ever forged. Since she holds one, only a single other copy remains in existence. Anna's mind spins. Is she communicating across time with someone who lived centuries ago? Noah shakes his head, dispelling the theory. The diary lacks the mana capacity for temporal communication. It is more likely that the book has been passed down through generations. However, a glint enters Noah's eye. He suspects he knows exactly who holds the second copy now. Anna leans forward, eager and desperate. Who is it? Can I find them? Perhaps she can finally locate her mysterious pen pal. But Noah shuts her down with a professional smile. He cannot violate client confidentiality. Our protagonist slumps back, pouting in frustration at the rejection. He steps closer, shifting the mood. He offers to impart some knowledge instead. Are you curious about the nature of outsiders? Hesitant but intrigued, she asks the question that haunts her. Are there really others like me, people from another world? Noah's voice turns authoritative. Anyone who falls into this dimension from the beyond, we are all outsiders. He begins his lecture, explaining the laws of the multiverse. Anna listens, entranced, while the tea swirls in the air, obeying his command. Listen closely, he says. When only the soul crosses over to inhabit a living body, that is possession. If the soul is born anew into an infant, that is reincarnation. But rarely, very rarely, he continues, both body and soul tear through the void together. That is true dimensional travel. Anna nods, understanding her own existence. She is a reincarnator. But what about you? Noah. He reveals the weight of his reality. He arrived here through dimensional travel, body and soul intact. She asks if he ever dreams of returning, and a heavy silence falls over the room. A bitter, soft chuckle escapes his lips. Noah confesses that if the heavens allowed it, and he would leave this instant. Because in truth, and this world holds nothing but emptiness for him. Noah finally unveils the truth behind his mysterious arrival. He had been tampering with volatile arcane experiments back in his homeland, only to be swallowed by a sudden dimensional rift. The ritual spiraled into chaos, unleashing consequences far beyond his nightmares. Despite channeling every ounce of his mana to stop it, the spell refused to break, sealing his fate in this world. Anna listens intently, realizing that this catastrophic accident is the invisible chain binding him to this realm, preventing his return. With a melancholic smile, Noah admits that despite his peerless mastery over magic, he has never succeeded in reconstructing the pathway back to his original dimension. As delicate constructs of golden mana flutter around the shop like living birds, he reveals another cruel truth: an eternity has already passed since his exile began. Left with no other choice, he established this magical atelier, using his otherworldly talents simply to survive in a strange land. Curiosity piqued, Anna asks if the shop's constant shifting of locations is due to its unstable magical nature. He nods, explaining to the young maiden that staying in one spot invites danger. If he lingers too long, the shadows of the Empire will surely find him. A mischievous glint suddenly lights up his eyes. He confesses that his past magical pranks might have slightly offended the Imperial crown, sending the royal guards into a frenzy. To evade the wrath of the Empire, he is forced to live as a phantom, constantly teleporting his sanctuary to new coordinates. He then gestures to a hidden door at the rear of the shop, a secret portal that connects directly to her private chambers within the palace. Meanwhile, miles away, the heavens weep in a torrential downpour. Derek turns to Prince Adrian, their gazes locked on a massive, smoking crater scarring the royal gardens. The destruction is so terrifying that even the elite guards hesitate to approach. Derek grimly notes that the intruder must still be lurking within the palace grounds. A cloaked figure, shrouded by the relentless rain and the darkness of the trees, silently reaches a concealed entrance. Slipping through the secret door, the shadow vanishes without a trace. Back in the courtyard, Derek barks orders, commanding the knights to scour every inch of the estate. The infiltrator cannot have escaped their net. The butler reports to the prince that the ominous fissures in the earth are spreading rapidly. A shadow of worry crosses Adrian's face. He commands Derek to alert him the instant they capture the culprit responsible for this magical disturbance. By late afternoon, the storm clears, painting the sky in breathtaking hues of burnt orange and twilight purple. In her quarters, Anna collapses onto her bed, completely drained from the day's events. Suddenly, her magical grimoire begins to pulse with a soft light. A message appears from her mysterious pen pal, thanking her for the gift and praising the exquisite craftsmanship of the handkerchief's embroidery. Anna replies, marveling at the fascinating mechanics of the portal door. Despite her exhaustion, chatting with this unknown friend brings a warm smile to her face. However, reality strikes. Our protagonist realizes she completely forgot to prepare the evening tea. Anna scrambles out into the palace corridors. She spots a door left slightly ajar. Inside, Mrs. Constance appears to be preoccupied with her duties, though something feels off. Anna enters the kitchen, offering a polite greeting, but the cook flinches violently, clearly startled by the sudden intrusion. Anna asks why she's working so late. The woman stammers that she's prepping tomorrow's menu, before suspiciously countering with her own question about Anna's presence. Suddenly, Mrs. Constance's demeanor shifts to panic, urging Anna to leave, but Anna's sharp eyes catch a detail fresh, dark soil clinging to the cook's pristine apron. Suspicious. The girl crouches down, patting the fabric to examine the stain. Mrs. Constance freezes. The cook quickly concocts an excuse, claiming the dirt came from a late-night trip to the garden to harvest herbs for a special lamb stew. Anna's eyes light up, asking if she and Arthur might have a taste tomorrow, but the woman shoots her down with a cold, harsh refusal. Taken aback, Anna apologizes, assuming the dish is a royal exclusive for the prince. However, the tension in the room thickens. Mrs. Constance looks visibly shaken. She claims there weren't enough herbs for extra portions, promising to make it up to Anna and Arthur another time. Before Anna can process the odd behavior, the cook practically shoves her toward the exit, desperate to get her out of the kitchen. Gripping Anna's shoulder a little too tightly, Mrs. Constance promises to bring her some chocolates tomorrow as a peace offering. Insisting it is far too late for chatter, she urges the young woman to go to bed immediately. Anna bids her good night, her mind racing. As she walks away, confusion swirls in her thoughts. The cook watches her leave with a dark gaze. There was something deeply, undeniably wrong with that woman. The following morning, sunlight floods the prince's study. Anna arrives with the tea service. Adrian asks gently if she managed to rest well. She bows, crediting her good sleep to his generosity. Suddenly, Anna freezes. The prince is reading the exact same red book her sister had lent her. Her hands tremble as she pours the delicate tea, placing a slice of orange cake beside it, her heart pounding in her chest. That book is filled with secrets, confessions the royal family should never lay eyes on. Anna stares at the prince, paranoia creeping in. Adrian lifts the book, about to speak, when the heavy doors swing open. Derek and the Queen Mother make a grand entrance. The poor butler struggles to keep pace with the Empress's energetic strides. She is beaming, delighted that her son finally invited her for breakfast. In the grand dining hall, beneath the glow of a magnificent golden chandelier, Anna navigates the tea cart toward the royals. The Empress settles in, asking her son how his recent visit to his grandmother went. Adrian's gaze drifts, recounting how the Grand Duchess had yet again boasted about the time she ambushed his grandfather mid-ceremony during their wedding to Duke Rosewood. The Empress laughs, reminding him that his grandmother has been a warrior prodigy since she was a child, and old habits die hard. She had not merely idled away her time, she had wandered the perilous eastern lands, dedicating her very soul to the mastery of martial arts. A chill runs down Anna's spine. Every single detail mirrors the prophecy written within that accursed novel. The Empress presses on, urging her son to consult his grandmother's autobiography, the key to unlocking the truth behind the incident. When the prince inquires about the title, the answer strikes like a thunderbolt. It is the exact same lengthy name as the romance novel Adrian was obsessed with. Anna freezes, her blood turning to ice. The author of that prophetic story was none other than the prince's own grandmother. Could it be? Was the royal matriarch truly the eccentric author hiding behind the pen name Strawberry Milk? Later, Anna remains in a daze, barely hearing Malene gush over that very same book. Her friend pauses, concern etched on her face, asking why Anna looks as if she's seen a ghost. Malene squeals with delight, entranced by the destiny of the female lead and the Duke. How could any man possess such lethal charm? While Malene worships the mysterious Strawberry Milk, Anna feels the walls closing in. She urgently suggests they leave, desperate to escape the conversation. One slip of the tongue could be fatal. She cannot risk revealing that the dashing hero is actually the bloodthirsty tyrant emperor. Desperate for a distraction, our protagonist suggests they enjoy the afternoon breeze at a nearby cafe. Suddenly, chaos. They find Arthur sprawled across the corridor, buried under a landslide of paperwork. Anna rushes to his side, asking if he's injured. She stares at the mountain of documents, asking if he truly intended to conquer that impossible load alone. He sheepishly admits he had no choice, as everyone else was occupied. With a gentle smile, Anna steps up. The girls grab the stacks, assisting him all the way to the palace library. Arthur explains the daunting task of organization, and Anna volunteers to tackle the far shelves, unaware of what awaits her. She teases that he owes her a decadent dessert for this labor, drawing a warm laugh from the boy. Anna meticulously slots the volumes into the shelves, fighting for space in the overcrowded rows. Crash. A heavy tome tumbles down beside her. She retrieves it, wiping away thick layers of dust to reveal its secrets. The pages are yellowed with age, the ink faded into near obscurity, challenging her to decipher the ancient script. Driven by an inexplicable pull, Anna squints at the text, piecing together the fragmented sentences. It reveals a dark truth. The Order of Knights served a purpose far more sinister than mere ceremony. Terror grips her heart. A shadowy figure in the text speaks of hunting outsiders, capturing and annihilating them without mercy. Meanwhile, in the royal chambers, the prince and his mother sip tea in deceptive tranquility. The Empress muses, praising the exquisite flavor of the tea Anna prepared. But the mood shifts. Adrian brings up the previous day's incident, her voice dropping as she asks if his suspicions are true. He harbors a dark theory about a mysterious man. Adrian agrees, noting that the man's erratic behavior bears the distinct mark of an outsider. Back in the library, Anna trembles, wondering who the executioner in the book represents. Suddenly, Arthur calls her name, startling her nearly to death. Panic flaring in her eyes, she shoves the cursed tome back onto the shelf, trying to mask her trembling hands. Oblivious to her terror, Arthur beams a bright smile, inviting her to finish up and claim her promised dessert. Anna forces a nod, but her mind races. That illustration. If she ignores this warning, both she and Noah could face a gruesome end. The mere thought sends shivers through her marrow. She zones out completely until Arthur's voice pierces the fog of her fear. Later in the servants' kitchen, Arthur studies her face, asking why she looks so burdened. Mrs. Constance steps forward, placing a gentle hand on Anna's forehead to check for fever. Anna quickly denies any illness, though her face is pale. Arthur worries he has overworked her, but Anna shakes her head. It's not him, it's a shadow looming over her thoughts. He presses for the truth, but how can she explain a death prophecy? She awkwardly tries to steer the conversation away from the abyss. Mrs. Constance softens, taking Anna's hands in hers. She urges the girl to unburden her heart, promising that sharing the load will bring relief. The older woman assures her there is no pressure, but reminds Anna that she is surrounded by allies who care for her. Thinking fast, Anna weaves a lie. She claims she found mysterious tea leaves in storage and hasn't been able to stop thinking about them. She adores these people, but the truth is too dangerous. The secret of the outsiders and the dusty book must remain buried in her heart. Mrs. Constance offers a simple solution. Why not ask the head maid to identify the mystery leaves? Arthur agrees, noting the head maid knows everything. But to Anna, that woman is a terrifying figure of absolute authority and suspicion. The prospect of confronting her makes Anna's stomach turn. Asking questions might just paint a target on her back. Fate has a cruel sense of humor. Arthur spots the head maid in the corridor and dashes after her before Anna can stop him. Panic explosion. Anna sprints forward, clapping her hand over his mouth to silence him. The head maid turns, her gaze icy, demanding to know what they want. Trapped, Anna commits to her fabrication about the mysterious tea tins found in storage. Anna stammers, explaining that she hesitated to report it. Unsure if she had the right to, she used them blindly, for the tins bore no labels, no origin, and not a single clue to their maker. The head maid narrowed her eyes, asking if the tins bore the image of winged lions, a crest of power. The revelation struck. That was the Imperial seal. Anna asked if the palace cultivated its own tea. The woman nodded gravely. Hidden behind the Emperor's palace lay a secret herb garden. Our protagonist stood frozen as the truth settled in. The yield was so scarce. Not a single leaf was ever meant to leave the palace walls. The head maid excused herself, leaving silence in her wake. Later, the tension melted away as Anna savored a slice of dessert, pure bliss on her fork. But back in the kitchen, reality set in. To survive in this snake pit, she had to remain a shadow and never reveal she was an outsider. The next day brought the familiar routine. She carried the tea tray to Prince Adrian, finding the nobleman buried under a mountain of paperwork. He had changed recently. Maids and designers swarmed around him like bees, stitching, measuring, and perfecting every inch of his attire. But who was the mastermind behind this sudden transformation? Anna poured the emerald liquid. It was tea from the royal garden, yet strangely, it lacked the usual bitterness. Adrian paused. Every year, they drank this tea during this season, yet today it tasted divine. What sorcery was this? What was the secret ingredient? Anna smiled knowingly. She had toasted the green tea flowers, taming the bitterness and smoothing the flavor profile. The prince looked at her, clearly impressed by her mastery. She thanked him with a humble bow. He pointed to the hourglass. Was this her constant companion? Did she invent this method? A pocket watch would be easier, Anna thought, but the cost was astronomical. Adrian concluded the secret lay in the hourglass. Fire lit in Anna's eyes. One day, her own tea shop would boast the grandest clock of all. The nobleman noticed her gaze lingering on his elegant pocket watch. His eyes narrowed. Did she use the hourglass for the hibiscus tea as well? The questions came like a flood. Does time change with the tea type? Does a second's difference alter the very soul of the drink? She realized he was insatiable today. Back in the storage room, the cold prince seemed more like a curious child, hungry for knowledge. A soft giggle escaped her lips as she tidied her tea tools. The empress and the prince consort never bombarded her with questions. Did he inherit this inquisitive spirit from his grandmother? Or perhaps his grandfather, the former emperor, was the one with the curious mind? As she stacked the cups, she mused on fate. We cannot outrun the blood that flows in our veins. But then, a thought struck her. The empress had raven black hair. The prince consort had light hair. Logic dictated a son with grayish hair. Yet Adrian possessed shimmering silver locks like his father, a trait not even his grandparents shared. Was Owen's silver-haired gene truly that dominant, a mystery of lineage indeed? Arthur broke her trance. The prince was expecting a guest. Anxiety pricked at Anna's heart. How many? She asked. Just one, the boy replied. Anna pushed her cart forward, the wheels echoing in the corridor. Strange maids lined the hall. Were they part of the guest retinue? The door swung open. A young woman stood there, draped in blue with gray hair flowing. She turned, disbelief washing over her face as she locked eyes with Anna. Silence stretched between our protagonist and the mysterious noblewoman. Finally, the lady spoke. "Are you working as a maid in the royal palace now?" "It is demanding work," Anna replied with quiet strength, "but I give it my all." The blue-clad woman smiled. "You seem more than up to the task." She continued, her voice warm. "Your sister sings your praises constantly. She claims your tea is a miracle that kept the cold away for an entire year." This was Fabia, the eldest heir of the prestigious Rosewood family, a swordmaster without equal, and the youngest ever to receive the title of Duchess of the Roses. Anna never dreamed such a high noble would remember a face like hers. With steady hands, she served refined, savory appetizers. Beside them, a rich red fruit tea steamed gently. Fabia took a sip, captivated by the striking aroma and unique depth. Anna thanked the Duchess, who kindly insisted on being called by her name. Hope bloomed in Anna's chest. In her mind's eye, she saw Lady Fabia praising her future tea shop, drawing the elite to her door. Suddenly, Prince Adrian strode into the chamber. "Have you waited long, my lady?" The lady laughed softly. "Not at all. Anna's company was delightful." He sank into an armchair, his expression sharpening. "Now, tell me, what business brings you here?" With a snap of her fan, Lady Fabia unleashed a calculated charm offensive. Her gaze lingered dangerously as she inquired if the prince had enjoyed her exquisite gift of tea leaves. Silence hung heavy in the air until she added, with a smirk, that she simply had to visit him personally. Tension crackled between the nobles, but Anna's mind was racing elsewhere. Why were the leaves rejected? Adrian claimed he had enough, but that was absurd. To Anna, his refusal was completely baffling. In her world, there was no such thing as too much tea. Her heart sank, knowing those rosewood leaves were not just rare, they were legendary treasures of the market. Lady Fabia snapped her fan shut, her voice dripping with feigned understanding of Adrian's rejection. She sighed dramatically, lamenting the waste of such premium leaves harvested from the kingdom's western lands. The words "Western Premium" hit Anna like a lightning bolt, and the room plunged into an awkward, suffocating silence. Anna scrambled to apologize, realizing her greed for the tea had made her visibly tremble with excitement. However, fate smiled upon her, and soon she was skipping down the palace halls. Victory was hers, the nobles had reached a truce, and Adrian had finally accepted the precious rosewood tea. But her celebration was cut short. A shadow loomed in the corridor, one of Lady Fabia's personal maids. The servant's gaze was piercing. Anna tried to pass with a polite nod, but a cold chill ran down her spine. Why the intensity? Suddenly, the maid lunged, gripping Anna's shoulder and demanding she follow immediately. Anna was led into a reception room, where Lady Fabia sat waiting like a queen on her throne. Using the prince's chambers was bold, but the noblewoman simply smiled, whispering that it was their little secret. Our protagonist's instincts screamed danger. Still, she obeyed the command to sit. The lady's demeanor shifted instantly, apologizing for her maid's rough handling. Lady Fabia purred, claiming she had longed to see Anna and simply wished for a private chat. She dismissed the servant and unveiled her true purpose. A delicate red box was placed in Anna's hands. Inside lay the treasure premium leaves from the West, handpicked specifically for Anna. Anna stared at the box, her mind warring with the propriety of accepting such a bribe. Despite Fabia's stunning beauty, an aura of intimidation radiated from her like heat from a fire. It was as if a stealthy panther were toying with a trembling, innocent rabbit. Lady Fabia was clearly the alpha of her pack, a woman who wielded power with terrifying grace. With a flourish of her fan, the predator made her move. She invited Anna to leave the prince and join the Rosewood Palace. The offer struck Anna like a physical blow. Her mind frantically weighed the scales of destiny. Defecting to Rosewood guaranteed nothing, not a higher wage, nor a better life. And then there was Adrian. The thought of leaving him stung more than she expected, catching her heart off guard. It was just business, she told herself. So why did the thought of his sad eyes haunt her? Lady Fabia then played another card, claiming a blood connection to the prince himself. She spun a web of distant relations, uncle's godson, second cousin's aunt, leaving Anna dizzy with confusion. Our protagonist watched, paralyzed, as the noblewoman rose from her seat. Fabia sat beside her, whispering her desire to tear down the walls between them, drawing a nervous laugh from Anna. The trap was closing. Fabia confessed she desperately wanted a talented tea master like Anna by her side. The interruption came just in time. The maid returned, and Fabia signaled for Anna's dismissal. A whispered secret passed between the noble and her servant. Later, under the cover of night, Anna opened her magic book. Her mysterious pen pal was waiting, asking how her day had unfolded. Anna spilled everything: the Empress's ambush, the truth about the red autobiography, and the tempting offer from the Rosewoods. A cold sweat broke out. She realized too late that she had just leaked state secrets. But the reply shocked her more. Her friend was already reading the scandalous red book that had the whole kingdom buzzing. Panic set in. Who on earth could have given him access to such a forbidden text? Her friend added one last observation, noting the striking contrast between the two men fighting for the heroine's heart. Anna was thoroughly enjoying the gossip, giggling as she noted how the Duke kept fumbling his chances to confess his love. In stark contrast, the Emperor wasted no time, boldly declaring his heart to her without a hint of hesitation. However, her smile faded when her friend asked a heavy question. If feelings remain unspoken, do they simply cease to exist? If you love someone, you must tell them. Just as the mood turned serious, a sudden knock on the door shattered the silence of the night. A palace maid stepped in, breathless, holding a letter that had just arrived. Anna stared at the envelope. Its mysterious appearance sparked a flicker of curiosity. Finally tearing it open, Anna scanned the contents, and confusion washed over her. The handwriting was undeniably familiar. It was from her sister. A vein popped on her forehead. Even though they were both adults now, her sister still insisted on calling her little pig. But warmth quickly replaced her annoyance. Her older sister wrote of her happiness and conveyed the heartfelt blessings of their parents. The letter revealed exciting news. The family was leaving their country estate to attend the upcoming social season in the imperial capital. Her sister hoped they could reunite in the city by the end of this very week. The thought of the grueling carriage ride made her phantom aches flare up, but Anna beamed with radiance. It would be the first family reunion in ages. Without wasting a second, the girl sat down to pen an immediate reply to their townhouse in the capital. Overwhelmed with delight, Anna danced around her room in her nightgown, the joy bubbling up inside her. Meanwhile, deep in the palace kitchens, Mistress Constance was pulling a fresh batch of cookies from the oven, while young Arthur watched with starry eyes, captivated by the golden sweets. Today's menu was specific: chocolate chip delights for the prince, while the servants would receive the caramel batch. Mistress Constance thanked Arthur for his assistance. As the palace buzzed with preparations for the banquet, the boy asked eagerly when the treats would be ready. The head maid replied firmly, 10 minutes, not a second sooner. That was exactly when Anna was scheduled to arrive. Arthur watched Mistress Constance work, his willpower crumbling. He asked to take just one, but a sudden request for help pulled the woman away. Before rushing off, she asked if he needed anything else, but the boy shook his head, feigning patience. "Wait for me right here," she commanded. But as soon as she left, Arthur was practically drooling. The cookies, they were calling to him. He knew the rules, those were the prince's snacks, but the intoxicating aroma of freshly baked dough pulled him closer like a moth to a flame. His hand reached out. He grabbed a cookie. At that exact moment, Mistress Constance returned, freezing in the doorway with eyes wide in horror. Arthur opened his mouth to take a bite. Suddenly, the cookie was slapped from his hand, crumbling into dust on the cold stone floor. Mistress Constance had struck him just then. Anna walked in, witnessing the chaos as the woman began fiercely scolding the terrified boy. "He tried to steal," Constance shouted, her voice trembling with unusual intensity. "These were made exclusively for His Highness." Arthur stood there, clutching his hand, hurt and bewildered. Why was she reacting so violently? She was usually the picture of calm. What on earth is happening? Anna stepped in to mediate, trying to diffuse the tension. She suggested that Arthur should have simply asked politely if he was hungry. She offered to help clean the debris so they could all take a break. But as she bent down, she noticed something odd. The jam in the center looked unnaturally dark. Before Anna could inspect it closely, Mistress Constance stomped her boot directly onto the broken cookie, crushing the evidence. The woman's voice turned ice cold. "Afternoon tea is postponed until tomorrow. Leave the kitchen immediately. I will handle this mess myself." Anna left, her mind swirling with confusion. Later that afternoon, she headed to the palace garden, only to find the beautiful sanctuary completely destroyed. Standing amidst the ruined flower beds was Derek, the young butler. He quickly intercepted her, smiling flawlessly. "Pay it no mind, my lady. Wild animals often rampage through here on rainy days. Just a bit of nature's chaos." Anna narrowed her eyes. She didn't believe a word of it. Her instincts screamed that this was connected to the strange tension with Mistress Constance. "I see," Anna said slowly. "May I enter to gather some herbs?" The butler's smile didn't waver, but his refusal was instant. He explained that ingredients for the royal palace underwent rigorous security inspections. "For the prince's safety," he insisted smoothly, "we cannot allow unauthorized harvesting, not even by you, my lady." Anna's expression darkened with worry. Derrick leaned in closer, his voice dropping an octave. "Is there something you wish to tell me?" "Just curiosity," she lied, forcing a smile. But mentally, alarm bells were ringing. His reaction was far too defensive to be normal. Derrick bowed slightly. "If you require anything, simply ask. I will have it arranged within the day. However," he added, blocking her path, "this area is unsafe due to repairs. It would be best if you departed him." Sometime later, inside the private chambers, Derrick stood before Prince Adrian. "The garden is clear, Your Highness. No further anomalies." The prince paused, his gaze intense as he processed the information. Derrick hesitated before adding, "I also encountered Anna there. I fed her the story about the wild animals." The young butler struggled with his next words, unsure how the prince would react to the intrusion. Prince Adrian listened silently as the report concluded. She asked to pick herbs. A flicker of surprise and perhaps suspicion crossed the prince's face. Safe within the sanctuary of her room, Anna collapsed onto her bed, letting a heavy sigh escape as the weight of an exhausting day finally settled upon her. From the disaster in the garden to the endless drama with Mrs. Constance, she needed an escape. She opened the magical communication book to speak with her mysterious friend. She poured her heart out about the kitchen mishaps, but carefully lied about the garden, claiming wild beasts were roaming the nearby hills. With a heavy heart, she lamented to him how those savage creatures had trampled the precious, blooming flowers into dust. A warm smile graced her lips. Having someone listen so intently felt like a rare and precious gift in this lonely world. Across the sprawling palace, her mysterious confidant, who was none other than Prince Adrian himself, paused, shocked by the mention of beasts within the royal grounds. He snapped the book shut, a frown marring his face. The timing of these events was becoming suspiciously perfect. Could she be connected to the palace in some way? Meanwhile, under the cloak of darkness, a shadowy figure stalked through the ruins of the garden. The intruder crouched low, gathering mana as they began to weave a sinister incantation. Dark energy surged, pulsing stronger by the second, until they unleashed a wave of destructive magic that shattered what little remained of the garden. A wicked smirk curled on the villain's lips, unaware of the danger. Our protagonist was peacefully organizing tea leaves in the storage room. Arthur interrupted her solitude, announcing that the prince's luncheon was concluding. Anna immediately prepared to serve the tea. When asked if His Highness had company, Arthur replied with a knowing smile that the formidable Empress herself would be joining him. Just as Anna feared, the mere mention of the Empress sent the kitchen staff into a state of absolute panic. The chaos was audible even from the hall. Seeking perfection, she selected premium Assam and Ceylon leaves, balancing the blend with precision. She infused the leaves with zesty bergamot and fresh lemon peel to awaken the senses. For the final masterpiece, she added dried fruits and a whisper of dark chocolate, creating a refreshing yet decadent elixir. Moments later, she presented the tea to Prince Adrian and the Empress. The noblewoman took a sip and her eyes widened, praising the unique floral notes of the bergamot. Anna bowed respectfully, revealing her secret ingredients, the brightness of lemon paired with the depth of chocolate. Impressed, the Empress commanded that this blend be sent to her private quarters, filling Anna's heart with relief and pride. However, Adrian seemed lost in a labyrinth of thoughts, wondering if the girl from the diary had deduced his true identity. Was this all a calculated trap? Anna noticed his gaze drifting into the void. She stepped closer, breaking his trance to offer more tea. Adrian sighed, admitting that heavy burdens were clouding his mind. He apologized for his distance, confessing that Anna's tea was the one thing that always brought him peace. Her heart fluttered at his words. The chemistry between them was electric, a fact the sharp-eyed Empress observed with keen interest. Just as the prince requested a refill, A violent gust of wind tore through the room, screaming past Adrian. An instant later, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the hall, freezing Anna and the prince in place. Anna spun around in confusion, just in time to see the Empress launch herself into the air with impossible agility. The Empress shattered the window. Leaping to the distant rooftops, Anna stood stunned, wondering if palace glass was truly that fragile. It seemed the legends of the Imperial family's monstrous physical strength were not just fairy tales. Above them, the massive crystal chandelier groaned. Snap! As gravity claimed it, Adrian lunged to save her. In a blur of motion, the prince pulled her close, shielding her body with his own as the massive fixture came crashing down. The room shook with a deafening crash. Safe in Adrian's embrace, he whispered a command for her to stay perfectly still. Trembling with shock and confusion, Anna clung desperately to the prince, the terrifying sound still ringing in her ears. He gently asked if she was unharmed, neither of them realizing that a shard of glass had sliced deep into his back. Tears began to stream down Anna's face. She choked out a sob, confessing that terror had completely overwhelmed her. Adrian reached out, his thumb tenderly brushing away her tears as he tried to soothe her trembling spirit. He checked her for injuries just as a silhouette appeared in the corridor the Empress had returned from her hunt. She stared at the intimate scene in shock, before flashing a subtle, approving signal to Anna. The prince's lips moved, but sound faded away. Anna knew only one thing without him. She would have been crushed beneath the glass. Suddenly, the prince gripped her shoulders tight, and a piercing, high-pitched scream erupted in her mind. A robotic voice commanded her to log off. Darkness encroached on her vision as she frantically wondered what log off meant. Anna awoke with a start on a velvet sofa in the prince's study, her mind a fog of confusion. A royal knight stepped forward, her expression softening with relief to see the girl awake. She explained that the prince himself had carried her here, and she was free to return to her room once her strength returned. The moment she stepped into the corridor, fate placed Anna directly in the path of the head maid. Our protagonist flinched, her heart skipping a beat at the sound of her name. She bowed respectfully, but the head maid demanded a private audience immediately. Her superior's gaze was sharp yet concerned. She mentioned Anna's fainting spell, and inquired if the young woman had recovered her strength. Then, she dropped a bombshell. The chaos had been orchestrated by a foreigner. The revelation sent a fresh wave of terror crashing over Anna. Anna's mind raced. Strange incidents had been plaguing them all month. Just today, the chandelier had fallen amidst blood-curdling screams. Still trembling like a leaf in the wind, Anna confessed the truth. Her spirit was still shattered by the relentless trauma of recent events. But the headmaid's expression hardened. She urged Anna to steel her heart and adapt to this cruel new reality. She revealed that while these attacks were becoming a terrifying norm, today's assault had been a catastrophe of a different caliber. Yet, the Empress stood as their unshakable shield. Her Majesty had quelled the chaos with divine skill. They had to trust in her power and march forward. But knowing terror was now commonplace in the royal household only deepened Anna's despair. She wanted to be strong, but her courage was crumbling into dust. The next morning brought no peace. Anna awoke to the sound of birds, but the grip of fear still tightened around her throat. The nightmare of yesterday refused to fade. Anna's mind spiraled, wondering if every shadow was a trap set by the foreigners. How could they possess such overwhelming power? She knew Noah wielded magic, but this enemy force felt like a pure, malevolent abyss. Our innocent protagonist was oblivious to the secret war raging in the shadows. The royal family clashed with the invaders, but all she knew about was the danger. If this darkness continued to spread, what would become of her? Inside her chest, Anna's heart hammered a frantic rhythm of panic. The fear was consuming her. She realized with chilling clarity that her life was dangling by a thread in this palace. A desperate thought took root. Perhaps it was time to escape, before the jaws of death snapped shut completely. Meanwhile, in the prince's quarters, Dererick reported to His Highness he had suppressed the rumors of the attack. The head maid then presented a grim list of the staff who had fled in fear. The prince accepted the report, thanking her for maintaining order amidst the chaos. His mind, however, drifted to Anna. He recalled her trembling form. Adrian cursed himself, guilt gnawing at him for failing to protect her sooner. From the first explosion of noise, his only concern had been her safety. Dererick, noticing the prince's dark mood, asked if he was unwell. Adrian masked his pain, claiming he was fine. Elsewhere, walking through the halls, Anna wrestled with her decision to resign. Suddenly, frantic footsteps echoed behind her. It was Arthur. The boy was breathless, calling her name with urgency written all over his face. He gasped out the news. The palace was critically short-staffed. Anna blinked in confusion. What chaos awaited them now? In the kitchens, Mistress Constance looked like a commander in a losing war. Upon seeing Anna, relief washed over her. While frantically stirring a pot, she begged Anna to serve the prince's breakfast. Anna panicked. She confessed she had zero culinary skills, but Mistress Constance shook her head. It was merely serving the appetizer. There was no time to argue. The kitchen was on the brink of collapse. As the remaining staff fought to keep up, Anna stepped onto the battlefield. When she entered the dining hall, Prince Adriane's eyes widened in sheer astonishment. She approached, carefully presenting a bowl of vegetable soup. Moments earlier, the pressure had been immense. Mistress Constance had thrust the tray into her hands. Despite her trembling nerves, Anna had ascended the stairs with the grace of a professional, not spilling a single drop. But the trial was not over. The next course was a dessert fit for royalty. A magnificent plate of waffles, crowned with seasonal fruits and drowning in golden honey and butter. As the prince admired the dish, Anna realized she had forgotten the tea. She hastily asked Adrian for permission to withdraw. Adrian watched her go, a gentle smile gracing his lips. Seeing her safe brought a moment of peace to his storm-tossed heart. The girl returned, pushing the classic tea cart with restored confidence, but no sooner had she finished than duty called again. Mistress Constance summoned her back to the trenches. Her next mission, helping Arthur stir a massive cauldron of stew. The mixture was thick as mud. Anna and Arthur exerted every ounce of strength until they felt their very souls leaving their bodies from exhaustion. There was no rest for the weary. Mistress Constance had one final task for her exhausted soldiers. She knew she had pushed them to their limits. As a token of gratitude, she asked them to help prepare a batch of lemon meringue cookies. The promise of sweets revived them. Beaming with joy, the two accepted the delicious reward for their hard labor. While munching on the treats, Arthur asked what Anna had intended to say earlier. She hesitated, then lied. It was nothing. She asked if the wreckage had been cleared. She prayed the roof would be repaired soon. The three of them walked out together, sharing a fleeting moment of happiness in the gloom. Anna wished this peace could last forever. That night, torrential rain lashed the palace. Derrick and Adrian plotted to repair the gardens once the storm broke, but outside, a sinister presence seemed to slither through the rain. Suddenly, Adrian's gaze sharpened. He spotted movement in the ruins of the garden. It was Mistress Constance. The woman was running desperately through the storm, gasping for air, completely unaware that the prince and his butler were watching her every move. A sudden realization struck Derrick like a bolt of lightning as he recalled the girl's innocent question about harvesting tea leaves. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. Adrian demanded to know his destination, but Derrick knew Mrs. Constance was being manipulated by a shadow threatening her son's life.